25th meeting of the Westford Select Board. We will start with the pledges of allegiance, today led by John.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up, we have a very special recognition tonight. We're here to congratulate Lieutenant Andrew Anderson, who will be retiring from the fire department after 31 years of service, and I think, Chief, you have a few remarks prepared?
Yep. Good evening, board members. Mike Denny, Fire Chief. Andy started his career at the Westford Fire Department as a call firefighter in April 5th, 1994, and moved up full-time January 2nd, 2001 with the group that I was involved with. Alongside his everyday firefighting duties, he was always a person you could count on to step in whenever he was needed. He became a lieutenant December 1st, 2021, and throughout the years continued to pass on his knowledge in department operations to the newer firefighters. On May 9th, another example of him jumping right in, he became acting captain. With Andrew retiring after more than 31 years, we're definitely going to feel a loss for his institutional knowledge and department operations. He was always one that was remembered how things worked and why they were done the way why they were done that way. That kind of experience and history is going to be incredibly hard to fill. Wish Andy best of luck in retirement after 31 years.
Would you like to say anything?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank the town for this opportunity to do this. I mean, I grew up in here when this was wide open. My father was the first building commissioner, and I had two aunts that worked downstairs in the welfare office that they had down there. So growing up, I was in here all the time. But I want to thank all these men and women that I've worked with and all the ones in the past that I've worked with. Really helped me out, helped me grow, and I hope I pass things on. I know I had a lot of knowledge of the town, the buildings and whatnot, because I grew up here. I want to thank my family. My daughter and her family weren't on here tonight because she's got the little ones, a little too late for them. But I have my son, he's a lieutenant on Westboro Fire, and his wife and grandsons. They're the ones that would miss out, my kids and my wife and stuff, when, you know, missing a lot of birthdays and holidays and whatnot working for the fire department. But I enjoyed it, they enjoyed it, and thank you. Thank everyone.
Thank you. Really from all the grateful citizens of Westford, but signed by all of us in appreciation for your service. So let me walk around and hand this to you.
Get a photo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We will understand if you need to slip out and don't want to stay for the rest of the day. Okay, we are still on open forum and announcements. Kristen, do you have any other open forum announcements tonight?
Just briefly, tomorrow the town hall and other town buildings will be closing at noon to allow our employees to celebrate Thanksgiving with their families. So just wanted to let everyone know that and to wish everyone a happy and safe Thanksgiving.
Good. Any other?
And the tree lighting ceremony is this Sunday, is that correct?
Correct.
At 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock at the Common.
Great. Thank you. Any other comments from the board today? Any open forum comments from the public this evening? Okay, Wendy?
The Westford Commission on Disability is having a sociability group social on Friday, December 19th. So that's the group that's for ages 9th grade to young adult. And that will be at the First Parish Church from 6 to 8 p.m. And we welcome age ranges to come, and their parents are welcome to come along with them. And introducing myself as a town person, Wendy Gloyd, 16 Pleasant Street. I'm vice chair, co-vice chair of the DEI committee. There is going to later on be a agenda item regarding restructuring the DEI committee. I apologize for the late timing of this. Earlier I sent an email, but when I saw the scale of what the DEI committee is being proposed to grow to 15 full voting members and 6 alternate, in addition to the liaison, I did a quick comparative search among other Massachusetts DEI and human rights committees. This would make us significantly larger than any other municipality in Massachusetts, which seems a bit out of whack. Significantly larger, and I believe we are in a process, well, I know we are in a process of taking member attendance, and there may be some attrition due to that, so it may be that we can rejig the member seats without having to commit to making the DEI committee this huge monstrosity. So I just want, I'm not claiming that that is what we need to do, but I'm just wondering if we should take a beat. I think the DEI committee members were asked one question, and that might not have been, it might have been that we needed to step back and take a procedural question of should we grow the committee rather than trying to accommodate how we've been working over the past few years. So, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Sure.
Wendy, just a follow-up, on your December 19th, you said 9th grade to young adult. That doesn't help me with age ranges, so what is, what?
So high school to, so that would be
Like 15.
15, we don't card anybody.
15 and up, is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
15
Okay.
to young 30s-ish.
Got it, thank you.
But thank you.
So it's for you, Chris.
But we don't,
I'm there.
parents welcome.
No, I think he meant as a young adult.
Yeah, Chris just turned 29, so that's fine. Okay, thanks, Wendy. Okay, any other comments, any other public comments this evening? Okay. We're going to move to the 7:05 agenda, which is the consent agenda. The request to approve the following. It's a town common bandstand request. The event is Luminaries Around the Common. The applicant is Karen Andreessen, and the dates are December 31st, 2025, rain date of January 1st, 2026. The time is 4:30 until the following morning. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So, second?
Any discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are now at our 7:07 item, and it is past 7:07, which is good. We can open the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, first up is, this first public hearing is to approve a transfer and change of address for a Mass General license, section 15, all retail package store license from Narayan Warup Corp., doing business as Westford Market and Liquors, located at 6 Carlisle Road, to Kajal and Kevin LLC, doing business as Liquor Junction, located at 174 Littleton Road. The proposed manager is Manish Patel, and if you could please introduce yourselves.
Yes, for the record, my name is Joseph Tavi. I'm an attorney with Reuben Rudman from Woburn, Mass. And with me is Katal Patel, who's the business development manager for Liquor Junction.
Okay. Great, if you'd like to just briefly describe what you're asking for, what your plans are.
I have a handout to do, that's, I'm gonna speak over what we are and what we are planning to do.
Sure, yeah, if we can do it quickly. These are usually, as long as everything's in order, they're usually fairly quick, but we'd be happy to take a look. Thanks.
You got enough, Chris?
Yep. Do we have enough? We got one extra. Okay. Great, please proceed.
Yeah, so Liquor Junction, we have 5 locations in Massachusetts. It's a family run. Me, my wife, my brother-in-law. We opened the Liquor Junction in Reading about 12 years ago. And now when we were looking to expand, Westford was a town that we used to actually work as a professional next door, and it came from nowhere. And we thought it would be a very great addition to the town, that we can certainly invest our effort and time and money into it. We found a location, we found a license that it can move right next to it. I think the license is right located behind the plaza. Our stores, in Liquor Junction, I'm not sure anybody's aware what Liquor Junction is. We bring in the base selection of single barrel, that's our main focus, and the wine is second. And we provide selection, family run still. We are not total wine, but we try to make sure that we provide more customized selection to the local customers. We bring in products for if somebody asks for something. It's not about volume for us. It's about just serving the local community. That's why we've been voted, even in North Andover, we've been voted. We just opened 4 years ago. We've been voted every year best liquor store in the town. So that's what we want to bring into Westford. And as I said, with our previous experience in the town, that me and my wife work around here, we love the town anyway, so.
Great, well, good, we're glad you're here. Any questions from the board?
No, I appreciate you. This is nice to have this. Thank you.
And everything's in order?
Yes, the clerk has signed off that everything is in order.
Okay. Unless any questions from the public? Okay, if there aren't any questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the language, right? To approve the transfer and change of address of Mass General Legislature Section 15, all alcohol retail package store licenses described in our agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you very much, and welcome to Westford.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, sir. I'll take all the help I can get. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We now are on the 7:10 agenda item. It's a request to approve the application for a common victualer's license for Paragrill LLC located at One Land Drive, Unit 3. The proposed manager is Emra Arslan.
Yeah.
Great, welcome. If you'd like to introduce yourself and let us know what your
Yeah, I'm
plans
the
are.
owner of the Paragrill LLC. My name's Emra Arslan. Yeah, we have like 19 people indoor seating, fast casual Greek restaurant type of place in One Land Drive. Yeah, 91 parking lot in the plaza. I think we submitted an application also. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, any question I can answer right away?
Yeah, that's perfect. Any questions for the applicant? So it's a Greek restaurant.
It is, yeah, Greek
Okay.
restaurant, yeah.
Cool.
Fast casual, yeah.
When do you open?
Hopefully in 2 weeks if we can get everything done.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. We'll be first in line.
Thank you.
Any questions from the public? I don't think we have any questions from the board. If there are none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the application.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank
Welcome
you.
to Westford.
So the
Best of
clerk's
luck.
office will be in touch with you to get your.
All right,
license.
sounds great. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Okay, and the next is like a panel of annual liquor license renewals. Maybe you want to pull that up just so the public can see what we're
Yeah, could you pull
talking
up
about?
The packet, it's on page 25 of the full packet. So every year in late November, early December, you're asked to approve a slate of licenses, all alcohol club licenses, all alcohol restaurant licenses, wine and malt restaurant, all alcohol package store, wine and malt package store, common victualler licenses, class 1, 2, and 3 vehicle licenses, junk dealer licenses, in-holder licenses, automatic amusements, and entertainment. So that is what we have before you this evening. The clerk has reviewed all of the items and believes that it's in order.
Excellent. Any questions on any items that are part of this panel?
No.
Okay, any questions from the public? Okay, if there are none, I will entertain a motion to approve the annual liquor license renewals for 2026.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. And next up, we are welcoming Joe and Anjali, our co-chairs in the DEI committee. I think we agreed they're going to give us a quick update on some of the things that they've been working on, and then we'll move through a couple items related to structure and membership, and maybe, hopefully, have a little bit of time to come back at the end to talk about areas that we might team up on as a school committee and a select board and the DEI committee. And I should pause there, and Catherine, do you want to call your
Yep,
committee into session?
just checking.
So I have Shayna and Bill online. Were you
Yeah.
looking for someone else?
I don't think Tom is able to join us
Okay,
tonight.
so those are the two that I have here online.
Okay, and so I'll just call to order the school committee.
Super. Great. Welcome to our school committee colleagues. Great. Joe and Anjali, please.
Thank you, Chair Clay and Chair Clear and the Select Board and the School Committee. It's our pleasure to be here today to update you on past, present, and future activities of the DEI Committee. I'm Joe Diamond, co-chair with Anjali Rajput, and to also respectfully request your approval of recommendations related to the structure of the committee and its new members. The summary of our activities will be under 2 minutes, so we can get to the other items quickly. For the past 5 years, we've engaged in a variety of activities in support of our charge, vision, and mission, included but not limited to the development and maintenance of a multicultural calendar. Initiating and continuing a monthly podcast we call Inclusive Conversations. Most recently, the 19th podcast featured our liaisons, Noel Donovan and Valerie Young. A video interview and personal visit with the police chief. We've also supported and hope in the future to continue to support the hiring practices in town, as well as connecting more with town boards and commissions. And we've engaged in regional collaboration with local communities, including Acton and Chelmsford. We hope to do more of that in the future, certainly. We've conducted a series of community events, which I hope will give you a picture of the scope of our activity. A screening of the movie Who We Are. We've also worked with Acton on an LGBTQ+ Pride Festival and related activities, Indigenous Peoples Day and its recognition event, Italian American Heritage Month, Juneteenth recognition event recently. Stemming from this are we're planning a reading of Frederick Douglass's July 4th address, What to a Slave is the 4th of July in the summer, and we look forward to marking with the community Martin Luther King Day in January. India Independence Day events were held and a flag raising. We supported and participated in Westford's multicultural block party. And certainly we're meeting with the schools to continue to enhance and update Holocaust Education Month, which you approved, and also Holocaust Remembrance Day is on January 27th, and finally Armenian Heritage Recognition. We're grateful for the interest in the DEI Committee expressed by members of the community who are considering volunteering to join us, and we look forward to working with all the members of the DEI Committee and partnering with the Select Board and the School Committee and the community to support, for example, efforts to enhance and expand community engagement. That's a brief update. We could certainly get into each of those later at some other time, but we wanted to give you a thumbnail.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate that, and we all really appreciate the work that you're doing, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
For that. And I do look forward to having more of a conversation at the end. And Catherine, is that okay with you if we go through the couple of procedural questions and then come back and have a discussion?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so I think the first issue up is the structure. And so maybe, Joe and Anjali, if you could just explain how it's structured now and what your proposed new structure is. And then we'll probably have some questions from this board. I'll ask Catherine if she has any questions from her board, entertain questions from the public. So if you could just give us a thumbnail of the structural change you're contemplating.
Absolutely, thank you. So currently, the full member number is 9, and we have 10 alternate members seats on the DEI committee. And we had few open positions because of the national attrition in the committee, which were 4. We partnered with the town manager's office and opened up those positions, followed through the entire process that was recently released by the select board for the committees to follow. So we went ahead and reviewed all the applications that were submitted to us in the past 2 years, invited those applicants with the volunteer activity form. Then we established a process on how do you really evaluate a DEI member. So we had asked the new volunteers who were interested to join the committee to answer some questions. And then we asked follow-up questions in our last meeting. and now what we are looking at. So in the summary, we are currently right now 9 full members, 10 alternate. We opened up the positions and we will be filling those, which is the second part of the recommendation. But in the interest of what we had practiced historically in the past few years, we gave the right to our all alternate members to vote in the essence of inclusion from the DEI standpoint. And then we were informed that alternate members should not be really voting, right? So keeping that in mind, we didn't want to take that access to the current volunteers who serve on the DEI committee. That being said, we went and did a survey with the existing members and asked them whether anyone wants to go from alternate to full or wants to change from full member to an alternate member. And we came up to a conclusion that one of the alternate members wants to continue as an alternate, and there are 4 members who were really interested to become a full member, who have been serving in good standing in the past few years. And hence we reviewed the structure, and here we are recommending that we make those 4 members as a full-time member. So now the new structure, what that would look like is 13 full members. On top, you include 2 student members who are still also considered as a full member, and then we have 2 liaison. So that is basically the proposed structure for the DEI committee as of now.
Okay.
Questions, discussions?
And you did also want alternate members as well as part of that structure change?
So the alternate members would stay alternate, and that's basically part of the position that we were filling in. They will stay as alternate, non-voting members, because we want to practice what has been practiced among other boards. Moving forward, alternate members will not be a voting member following your guidelines.
Okay, so the current charter is 9 full members, 10 alternates. The proposal is to have 13 full members, 2 student members, the 2 liaison members which are there, and then 6 alternates.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so first up, let's discuss this change. So I guess first, from this board, any questions that you have for Joe and Anjali about this change? Yeah, John?
Does the school have their own DEI committee?
We do. It's internal. It doesn't meet every month. It's on a bit of a hiatus at the moment until we get the final equity audit through. But there is ongoing DEI work within the schools itself. That was one of the things that kind of came out of the main school DEI committee about 2 years ago. So there's a lot of work being done in the schools. So each school has their own group of DEI committee members.
So just a reminder that folks who are listening may not be able to hear what we're saying if you're not at a microphone. So I should have stopped in the beginning.
Yeah, well,
I was listening to what you're saying, and I was like, oh.
going through you already.
Okay. Okay, but, so, perfect, so
So
you've got
you
an
want to
answer.
have 2 full voting members of school representatives?
Yes, we do, yes.
Juniors or
Kate and
seniors?
Harshita, yeah, they are seniors.
Students from either Westford Academy or any school that's operating in Westford.
So they are representative, they bring in the information on what are the updates in the school that are happening, and they bring all that knowledge to the DEI committee.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Sean?
I was just curious, under the current kind of iteration of this, what's the attendance been like?
So it has been pretty good.
Okay.
We have that was a challenge few years ago when the committee was very large. This is a really good question, Sean. And we were struggling to meet the quorum, which was in 2023. That's when we had requested to change the structure. But in the past 2 years or so, we have consistently had our meetings. I think the quorum has been close to 10 members easily. So we are not concerned that we will have quorum issues moving forward.
The difference is, instead of 6, it would be 8.
8.
for quorum.
Other questions? Yep, Chris?
So with the new proposal, of the folks that interviewed recently, would there be any open spots for the alternatives, or is everything be full at this point?
So, for now, what we have processed are the 4 seats, and that's what we have followed the process for. What we learned that there is another position that has just opened up before our meeting, which was on Tuesday. And what we are gonna do with this seat, we don't know as of now. We will review it in the next few months' meeting, we'll figure it out. But for now, we are just talking about filling those 4 open seats that we had open for past few months.
Okay.
Yep,
Well,
John.
because, you know, with this group, with the alternates, how do you process going through setting up a meeting as far as determining who participates and who doesn't participate, who can vote and who doesn't vote? Because, and do you ever have a situation where you have more alternate members attending than you do normal voting members?
We determined that we really, it's a very important point you're making, John, and we want to make sure that we're in line with the practice in Westford. And so before, as Angela pointed out, everybody who was on the committee, alternate or full, would vote. But now we understand that we need to be in line with the practice, and so the proposal is 15 full members, including the 2 students who would vote, and then we would have alternate members who would not be voting.
I just wanted to add a comment to it, John. So in the absence of a full member, I think what your question is, how would you determine which alternate member is given an opportunity to vote in the absence of a full member? And we have planned to determine that in our next month's meeting. As a committee, we will figure it out. What is the standard procedure that we want to put in place? Is it somebody who joins the meeting on that day, the first person, or based on that criteria, or is it something else? So we haven't really decided that as yet, but we definitely have plans to include that in our agenda.
Yeah, I think the practice I've seen is that, you know, as you set the meeting up and you determine who's going to be there and who's not,
Yeah.
then I think the chair normally would appoint an alternate to join as a voting member. I think you can do that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and I also want it to be in the consensus, so we kind of follow a process altogether all the time, be consistent in the future months, and not pick and choose on who gets to vote on that night. So we'll establish a process. Maybe it may look like someone who joins the meeting first actually gets the opportunity, or maybe something else. We'll figure out a process as a committee.
Yeah, we can certainly share how other committees have operated.
Yeah, that'd be-
Absolutely.
Well, I think the challenge, right, is I don't know how many other committees have 2 chairs. So if you guys split on your recommendation, you might want to figure out a way to, like a tie vote. I don't know, maybe go to your co-vice chair.
We agree on everything, I
We
think.
do.
Okay.
We convince each other, actually.
Well, that's great. I'm sorry, Tom, I'm still a little lost here on where you're going. So you had you have 5 alternates, and you said you're gonna promote, I guess, 4 of them up, 1 staying. So then that leaves 5 free alternate seats.
Okay, so let's do the math again. Right now,
Yeah.
we are 9 full members, 10
Yeah.
alternates. We are planning to promote 4 alternates to be a full member. The committee becomes 9 plus 4, 13 as full members. The rest 6 will actually stay as an alternate. So all those positions will stay as alternate. 1 position has opened up outside of these 4, which we will, again, that's the second part of the meeting. But we are recommending 4 alternates to be promoted to a full member.
At the time they kicked off their alternate process, there were 4 openings. 1 person had chosen to stay, there was another member who was in place. So in this new structure, there were 4 openings, and that's what they conducted their process for. And at some time during the process, basically someone resigned. And so it's a similar situation to the ZBA situation. They sort of advertised a process, they were moving through it. And so they're still, I think, planning what they're thinking they're going to do with this newly surrendered seat that just appeared.
The other consideration, I don't know if the memo is accurate, but it seems like a vast number of your members all expire on the same date.
They do, so that we will come back to you all for guidance on how to go about that in the next couple of months.
In fact, if we move forward to make recommendations tonight, I think Kristen has a suggestion, just through, drawing out of a hat, of having some be 2-year and some 3 years, so we can begin the process of having
You need to
rotating.
stagger it, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any question? No?
Any other questions?
I was just curious, so there was a comment during public comment that our town, population-wise, has a much larger DEI community than surrounding communities in other locales. Do you have any response to that? Like, what are your thoughts?
I think, well, you want to go first?
Yeah, I would say I'm thankful that there is so much of interest to be part of this committee. Everyone is really busy in their life. These are volunteer positions. If anyone can give their time to this committee and the work that we have been doing, that's great. We got a really strong interest from the community, and hence we have accepted all those applications and we went through this voting process. And in the past, we were a large committee to begin with. We reduced because of the quorum issues. Now we have tried quorum in the past 2 years. Keeping that in mind, we will still move ahead with few alternate members and many full members, giving opportunity to most of the people who apply to the committee, and then work together in order to serve the community. That's all. I just want to say thank you for the comment and thank you for the...
Yeah, I would just add that it's, as Julie points out, historically, it's been a committee of about 20 members. And so it's
Right.
not something that's unfamiliar to us.
I just had one more question.
Yeah, sure. John, go ahead.
Yeah, the primary mission, if you don't mind the term, of the DEI committee is outlining your charge is to advise the select board and issues with in the DEI realm. You view that as a kind of a pull from us or a push from you? It's because I haven't, I'm trying to recall receiving that kind of advice or
It's one of the
from the
things,
DEI committee. I know the activity that's going on and that you're sponsoring. And so I'm just seeing, where that fits.
yeah, so John, just if I may, so one of the things I hope we come back to is discussion of what a couple of kind of cooperative focus areas we could have for the next year. I think that's a need that we have to be better synchronized. So
Yeah.
to the extent that's related to what you're thinking, I hope we can come back and at least begin to suggest some ideas that we can team up with schools, town,
I see a
DEI.
lot of activity, I'm missing that interaction that says, are we going in the right direction as a community, particularly with town government, and are we doing the right things within that realm to support our goals?
Yeah,
So
agreed.
I'm interested in seeing that, and I have not.
We,
seen that
well, we
much.
appreciate that admonition. We see it as a partnership. And in some sense, what we propose to do and what you've considered is a form of advice, but it's not as active and back and forth as it could be. And so I think we're looking forward to that.
Does
Yeah.
school committee get to weigh in on?
They do. So once we're done, I'm going to turn it over to Catherine. And then after everyone's had a chance, we hear from the public, then we'll go to the voting stage. So we have a little bit of time left still.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
So procedurally, we just went through the process, we made a policy about the process of the application process, the interview process. And one of the things that we decided was that alternates would not just automatically be elevated, but would be part of the interview process. And where that wasn't done here, and also members who weren't supposed to be voting voted, I question whether or not this needs to be redone with the alternates and the people who are applying all being interviewed for these positions.
so there's a couple questions there. One is, so right now we're talking about is the structure. The next thing we'll talk about will be their second proposal, which is to elevate the 4 alternates into full positions, which I totally understand your question. That's a great question. And then there's the question of the validity of the vote, given that both alternates and full members voted together. My take, but this is a question for you and for our colleagues on the school committee, is that because we were able to watch the tape and able to pull out roll call voting, and we know what all the full members voted, in the case of the structure, the first issue before us, everyone voted unanimously, so there's no question about did all the alternates vote one way and all the full members vote another way. So, and Kristen actually has the separated tally as we go, so if anyone has questions, we can reference what the full voting member votes were, if that becomes important. My take is that it's an advisory recommendation, and I think we have all the information that we would get from that vote. And so I feel comfortable proceeding, even though that vote wasn't sort of conducted strictly in accordance with the norms. But if people feel like we're not able to pull the information or just have a major concern about the vote, we could decide, I guess we'd have to discuss this with our school committee colleagues. We could decide that we're not comfortable and that we'd like there to be a revote and then have it come back. We could decide that. My feeling is that we have the information from the vote, and so I feel okay proceeding, but I accept the question as a concern, and we spent some time hashing it out in our heads about whether at least I felt comfortable pursuing it. So I don't know if other people want to weigh in about whether they feel comfortable proceeding given the nature of the vote. Yeah, Chris.
I'm comfortable. I have just a question on
Yeah,
that.
sure.
So if you were given guidance by these two boards to make the committee smaller, how would you attempt to deal with that? So just for instance, let's say we said, oh, make it 9 and 4, 9 full, 4 alternates, for example.
Yeah, yeah. I can give a little bit of summary on basically all the activities that we have done throughout the year. And we have split it into small working groups. When you divide the responsibilities, it is just much more workable because most of the members are full-time working people, have full-time families, you know. So when you look at the commitment standpoint, when you have to come together, leave everything aside and then work on a project, whether it's a community event, whether it's a meeting with the town, with the select board, it's a divide and conquer. Like we divide the responsibilities, we delegate that's how it has worked for the committee. If we become smaller, it will put unnecessary pressure on the volunteers to take on more, and then we wouldn't want committee to fail. You want the committee to be successful, and hence I think the current size or even a little bit bigger will be still helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions before you go to our school committee?
I'm
Yep.
sorry, are we doing comments now too, Tom? Or,
Anything related, ideally anything related to this first issue, which is the structure issue.
okay,
So if it's related to structure, I mean, of course, anything you'd like to ask, you can ask. But what I'm thinking is,
yeah.
if we don't move through, depending on what form the structure issue takes, that'll affect what the next thing is and what the next thing after that is.
I get it. I just want to make two thoughts and to piggyback onto what Noel had just pointed out. I think it's a reality, right? There were some members who were alternates who were elevated right before vote, and then several votes cast. And I know that we have to.
So no one was elevated
No.
no. There were
From,
full members and alternate members, and everyone voted. There was they don't have the ability or the authority to elevate any position. That's your board and the school committee who have that authority to do.
Okay, but alternates had voted on Wednesday, correct?
They did, but almost everything was a roll call, except for the first vote, which was unanimous. The rest were roll call. So we can actually sort of pull apart and say this is what the full members voted.
Whether it's considered procedural or not, I'm kind of with Noel on this. I think that it's just, we might as well do it right. We have the policy. The policy is that alternates aren't supposed to vote. They voted in this, you know, I don't think it's going to take much of the committee's time. And then to add more to that, it appears that there may be another open seat. So, you know, depending on where this conversation goes, I would imagine your committee is going to want to discuss whether or not to fill that open seat. So I hate to send it back to the drawing boards, but it's a concern that I have. So
Just another point is we actually don't need, since we have the authority and since we're all here,
sure,
we don't actually need anything from them. And so we could decide to proceed. My argument is we have all the information about who voted for what. And so I feel like we might as well make good use of the fact that we're in session together and proceed, but that's just my opinion. So if we vote, well, I guess, how do people feel? I guess what we'd have to do first is decide whether we feel like we can proceed. If there's enough concern that some folks feel like we can't proceed, then we have to first decide if we can proceed.
My whole point is to say is that if there's one thing that we need to be, is it's consistent, right? And we made a decision at our previous meeting regarding the ZBA spot that we were going to send it back to the ZBA to decide whether or not to fill that role. I see these two as analogous, but maybe they're not, and maybe I can be convinced otherwise. But so,
might we comment?
Yeah.
Respond?
Sure.
Mr. Chair. On that matter, I think we're open to talking about that particular seat, absolutely. And we appreciate the point that Noel makes related to the alternate members becoming full members. And for us, we, in a sort of a stepwise and in a good faith effort, wanting to make sure that we were as in sync as possible to the letter and the spirit of the process you outlined, but at the same time recognizing that we had a past, a process with the way that folks interacted in our committee, the way they voted, their voting status, and we felt that it was to the best of our ability to move ahead with a process that would certainly respect and be in sync with what you developed, but at the same time understanding where we've come from.
I just wanted to clarify and add to what Joe is saying, which is that we did not really elevate any member from alternate to full member, just to clarify what Kristen said. Alternate members always voted in our committee since 2023. When now we were voting for two important matters, now changing on the last day and say, hey, you guys will not be able to vote because now these are important matters and from today onwards we are going to follow the process, wouldn't have really looked right. It would have made us feel look bad, probably, but at the same time, these are important matters. They have always had a voice. So in order for inclusion, we continue to actually give them the voice to vote. Now, to your point, Sean, what you said is, how do we accept those full members, alternate members as full members? Actually, it was a unanimous vote. Even if you separate the vote of alternate members who voted, which were 5 people over there, there were enough full members to actually vote to convert these people from alternate to full. So just to prove a point is like we had the quorum, we had all full members vote for it. Everyone voted unanimously. There was really no question about whether we should convert those alternate members to full members or not. And hence we are here for a recommendation that this is how the committee feels, that we should actually move them from alternate to full members.
And we're excited to move forward
Yeah.
in the sort of the way that, again, that it's in sync with what you all put together.
Okay, so I think the first thing on the table, it sounds like, is that there's enough concern about whether effectively we need to have a revote or not. So I don't know if anyone has any further opinions on that. It sounds like at least a couple of people are concerned about it. We might have to go ahead and make a motion, take a vote on whether we feel like we can proceed or not.
Would it be okay if we hear school committee's opinion on this? Or do you want us just to?
Well, I think if it's-
First?
Well, I think we can vote on the restructuring, and that is one separate thing, but then the elevation or the appointments would be separate. So something that we could figure out tonight.
Okay,
is-
yeah, I mean, my hope is that we first move that, and then there's a whole next set of issues we're gonna come up with the next one. So if we're more or less comfortable considering on the structure question, I'll give one last request, and then we'll turn it over to our school colleagues. Anything else on that, structure-wise? Okay, thanks. Catherine, and you may just want to pull up a seat to the table, just so you're comfortable when you're near a mic,
No problem.
if that makes sense.
Okay. Different. And maybe we just remind any of my school committee members here that if we can remember to use the mic, and we have Bill and Shayna at home. So can I just check if there's any comments from our members regarding, we're focusing on the structure.
First, the structure, which
First
is
is
the
the
request to move
structure.
from 9
Yeah.
and 10 to 13 plus 2 plus 2 to 6 and 6.
I feel like we need a whiteboard for all of that. Yeah. Thanks, Jess.
So I'm not so familiar with the role of the alternates, and so I wanted to understand better the expectations for the full members versus the alternates. Is it really just voting, or are there different expectations there? And, you know, there was a comment earlier about wanting to, you know, have access for all of the members to be voting, which I understand, but, you know, wouldn't it be possible for the full members to represent, you know, the views of the alternates just as they represent, you know, the views of the wider community?
Could you give your name and address?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Jessica Silverman, 10 Drawbridge Road.
Here's a member.
Here's a member of the school committee.
Oh, school committee.
John's just looking for it to come over for a cup of tea. Do you want to speak to?
Yeah, sure. The answer to the question is the responsibilities and the power to both alternate and full members to speak their mind is absolutely equal in the committee. The only difference is the vote. In the past, we have really struggled to have a quorum. In 2023, we could not really have meetings for 3 months back to back. And we had really important matters to discuss or even send for approvals to the select board, but we could not progress at all. That being said, and during that time, we opened up our positions, and all the new members who had joined, we opened those positions as alternates because we wanted to try a new structure so that we could have quorum and we could have meetings and continue to do the DEI work. That was the only difference. But when we had alternate members join, it wasn't clear to us, again, bad at my part, and we did not know the procedures, that alternate members would not vote. And in the essence of just inclusion and the guidance that was provided to us during that time, we proceeded to just allow them to vote as much as we would allow it to full members. Answer your question? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
I just had a quick note to add, Valerie Young, I'm also on the school committee, John. And I'm actually this year's liaison for the DEI committee, so I've been involved with this process since June. It's been a very thoughtful, it just underscore that process, and I think that the structure change is all embedded in the good faith effort to correct the alternate member voting issue. So it's all connected to me, and it's all, I want to underscore what Joe said about moving forward. Our meetings the last 2 months have been solely focused on this membership, structure, interviews. I think we've done a really great job on just kind of this continuous improvement of I know you'll get to the appointments later, but the interview process and the Google Forms and reviewing the responses has been a really great, thoughtful process. So I stand by the process that we've come to bring forward today. I just wanted to add, I know the size of the committee has come up, but us, the select board and the school committee at the time in October 2020 did decide to make all 22 people who had put together the forms on the committee. You had actually created a charge for like 9 members and then saw 22 applications and said, everybody go on. So I think there's a little bit of reflection on self-reflection needed with the size of it, and it feels a little arbitrary to change that now. And I'd also point out that the Community and Behavioral Mental Health Committee has 21 members, so it's not completely out of the realm of Westford.
Shayna, you have your hand up there. Sorry, one sec, Shayna. You're not coming through the speakers.
Hold on, Shayna, just 1 second, please.
Yeah, Shane, we have a little technical fix here.
Try again, Shayna.
No, hang on.
Here.
On the bottom, keep going.
Speaking receiver.
There you go.
Try again, Shayna.
Hi.
Oh, you sound so good.
Sorry to make it all complicated.
Oh, you're good. Thank you for helping us troubleshoot.
We got you in surround sound now.
It does feel to me a little bit large to increase the size. I feel a little bit in that way. I think it sounds like the newer members are a little bit more flexible with their schedules, but we have had quorum issues in the past, and obviously the larger you make your board, the harder to make your quorum. So I definitely have some hesitations there. One question I had was the people that came on as alternates, like, were they always designated as alternates and just didn't realize that we weren't supposed to have alternates? Like, did they always have that designation?
I think that's true. Yes,
Yeah.
they did.
They did, yeah. That's what I just responded, that in 2023, we requested to change the structure to 9 full members and 10 alternates because we were having issues in conducting our monthly meetings.
Okay, so I mean, just my line of thinking there was, I think most people know that an alternate means you vote in place of somebody. I think that's a kind of a common practice. I sit as an alternate on other boards where I support school committee members, and know that if the person that I'm supporting is there, I don't vote. That's just what the role is as an alternate. So it doesn't, if they were appointed as alternates, it doesn't feel, it stinks to not get to vote when we were doing it incorrectly, but also, I mean, that is the role of an alternate, would be to vote. So, and then the only other question I had was kind of a procedural question, and maybe you would have got to this, Tom, but in terms of the vote, is a no vote would keep the committee at the same size and structure of 9 plus the alternates, and then the yes vote expands it? I just wanted to make sure I understood that before we got to the vote.
Yeah, so by practice, typically the first motion would be the motion as presented. If the motion failed, the committee would either make a subsequent motion with some different, would either decide to make no further motion, in which case it would stay the same as it is now, or a board member could make a subsequent motion for some different structure before the topic was sort of resigned and moved on from.
Can I just make a clarification?
Sure.
So just to clarify, there are actually 11 full members. 2 of those are student seats currently and 10 alternates. So just for the public and for the boards, there are really 11 full voting members. That includes 2 students.
Right, hence the 6-person quorum.
Yeah.
And we're asking to take 4 of those alternate members and make them full members, which makes that 15.
That is the
Yes.
request this evening,
Yes.
correct.
Yes.
With the quorum of 8.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, just 2 more.
Could I just throw out a question of, I totally appreciate that there's precedent for a larger committee on this, and I totally get with the lion's share of the work. Is there even a consideration that we would, if we appoint these alternate members to full members, it leaves 2 alternate members, 1 seat is filled and 1 is now looking like it's unfilled. Do we, and I know you've just potentially appointed new alternate members, so is there some consideration, instead of having 6 alternate members, we would have 5? So it gives you, because
We haven't thought about that. We
Yeah.
haven't really gone so far.
Yeah,
Let's put
yeah,
it that
yeah,
way,
yeah.
right? Right now, we are just talking about the current structure, upgrading few members from alternate to full members.
Okay.
As Tom stated, that 1 extra seat became open right a day before, and it has not gone through the proper process of going to the town members and asking for applications, right? So that is a long process that still
But
needs
you
to be
may
followed
not
through.
do that.
We don't know. So we will, as a committee, we will talk
Decide
about it.
if
Do
you
we
need
really
that.
need to feel? Do we not to feel? What do we do about
And
that?
this input's
it's a
important.
question, yeah.
This input is important.
Yeah.
So we haven't.
It's more, I think of like, what's a manageable size, and
Yeah.
how many alternates, if we're really kind of squaring down like what that role is how many alternates do you actually need if you have a 15-member committee? Yeah.
We will come to school
Yeah.
committee and select board for further guidance
Anytime.
on that particular position as well in the near future.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we're still talking on structure.
Structure, school committee,
Yeah.
then we'll take questions from or
Yep.
any comments from the public, and then we'll move to voting on the
Yep.
first issue.
Bill, Laurie, any questions or comments?
Having served as the liaison for the DEI committee last year, I think the only concern, as the previous resident brought up, is that sort of saturation point, right? And, there's the business of discussions and items on the agenda and how long those meetings take, and then there's the business of votes that would then become before the information of the select board and the school committee. So, I think I believe in the process. I think what's important is to pay respect to the timeliness of meetings and the subject matter and the discussions that are had within. I think, a saturation point where there's too many members both voting and alternate, might take away from the effectiveness of the overall meeting, if that makes sense. So I would just, practice that caution. But again, the discussions have been robust. The discourse has been vital to this community. So, I see benefits to both ways. So.
Thank you, Bill. I think it's a good feedback. I believe that we all can learn to manage time a little bit better.
And Bill, we appreciated your contribution when you were liaison. Thank you.
Yeah, any questions from the public, or comments from the public? And Wendy, you're welcome back, but if it's a new point, different from the point you made before, it's welcome.
Okay. Wendy Gloyd, 16 Pleasant Street. It was mentioned earlier that there was a unanimous decision to move all these members forward, but there were no other questions posed to us to step back and really look at the size of the committee that we were creating. So I have a sense that our committee over the past 2 years has been confused about full members and alternates, and how we all just voted as full members. And I believe it was SEMA recently who came back from vacationing and somehow it struck her mind that what is the difference between a full member and an alternate member? And there really, in essence of our committee, there wasn't any. So we actually got the benefit of having a low quorum, but we would have all these members voting. And I think it's getting a little top-heavy, out of hand, a little out of balance. And when you look at the other committee sizes, in looking at best practices for DEI committees, and that's part of what we do is network with other committees and other towns that have similar sizes to us. They have a size that's more in line with what our standing number is. So I'm just a little concerned about growing that number to be too large and unwieldy, and then having to make quorum, and as has been mentioned by Bill, too many cooks in the kitchen. I do believe there are a few committed members that do a lot of the heavy lifting of the committee, so I don't think that governing the size is going to have a detrimental effect. And I do think attendance will show some more attrition within the next couple of months, because there are members, we're kind of tidying house right now, and there are members that that just came up just recently who has not been attending, and that's part of our housekeeping we need to do, to see who hasn't been coming, see why they haven't been coming, and maybe let that seat that seat is not needed because that person has not been there for a long time. So I just caution, I think we're trying to do something to not hurt people's feelings, and I get that, but I don't think that that is the right way to go about making a committee larger just to not hurt somebody's feelings. I don't think it's the right way to go about governance. I think sometimes you make hard decisions. A mistake was made, or a decision was made a while ago. Making another mistake now is not helping that.
Okay, I understand your point. I don't know if you want to respond to that quickly.
Sure. I guess a couple things. First of all, we appreciate the comment, the observation. I would say, related to the size of the committee, it's not unprecedented in this town to have a committee of this size. It started at this size for good reason. The other point that I want to make, though, regarding size in comparison to other communities, while I know that Wendy's looked into this, it is by no means scientific or even credible statistically. And we don't know the considerations in other towns as to the size of the committee. I think the admonition that we're hearing from you all is think about what is the optimum size. And I think that's really important. I think that's a really important point.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I'm sort of drawing from this, that it's important that we think about what the optimum size is, and I think there will be a process where we'll settle on that. Certainly.
Okay. Thank you. Andrew?
Hi, Andrea Parent of Sweet. To talk about size of committees and what is and isn't appropriate, historically, I'm not sure some of you probably weren't even around, but we had a master plan committee that was 42 members. And that committee came forward with the first master plan for this town in, I think it was 1993, but I'm not sure, but it was in the early 90s. We were 42 members. It represented all of the aspects of this community. We had subcommittees. We worked really hard, and we were a committee that was incredibly competent and brought forward to town meeting the master plan, the first master plan. Subsequent to that, I believe that there were 2, maybe 3 master plan implementation committee, each of which was 20 people or more. Again, each of which worked together well. One of them went through the original master plan point by point in determining what had been implemented, what hadn't been implemented, and what needed still to be implemented. And those committees were all functional, all worked well together, and were clearly, above the size of what we're talking about tonight. So it is very, very possible, not only is it possible, it has happened here in the town of Westford, that we have had committees that have been 20 members or more, functioning well, and coming forward to this town with plans and procedures that were ultimately adopted by town meetings. So I don't think you should be so focused on whether it's 9 or 13. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Diane?
Real quickly, Diane Wood, 122 Depot. I echo what Wendy has said about the number. Having sat in, I'm not a member, but having sat in on many, many DEI meetings, we've been at this now for 5 years. I think it's 5, right? 5 years now.
5
And we
years.
go around and around and around. I don't think adding more with discussion about the organization or about the votes. So as far as the numbers concerned, I think it would simplify if there was a more manageable number. I don't know why also that we need 6 alternates. I can't think of too many other committees other than not pedestrian. There's another committee, wellness.
Healthy Westford.
Yeah, I think it's wellness committee that has 10 or 12 alternates. And I think it sets an expectation that if you're an alternate, you're gonna have a great voice, you're gonna be doing this, you're gonna be doing that. And it kind of discourages, when you actually see it in motion, that an alternate may not have that much influence on what's going on, regardless of being able to input. And then last but not least, I'd like our leadership in town to be focusing on other things that I consider more important. The budget, other things that are going on, and we spend way, way too much time on DEI in particular. So I wish we could just resolve it, whatever is the best approach, and move on, whatever that may be. It's just you're taking up everybody's taking up everybody's time and going around and around, agree or disagree. I just think we should move forward and utilize your time more efficiently. Thanks.
Thanks, Dan. Any other questions or comments from the public? Okay, so we're moving to the question of structure. So the item in front of us, first the select board and then our school committee colleagues, is how we want to address the recommendation that we've heard from the DEI committee. So great to have another round of comments and questions, and then we'll probably move to a motion and a vote.
Well, we have what the committee's recommended. We can nitpick this till the cows come home, and it's not come up with anything better. So I think we should vote for the structure, approve the structure, and then also vote on the membership and approve that, and then let them move on.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Other comments?
I have a question.
Sure.
The alternate members, although they could vote, can still be in subcommittee, is that correct?
Oh,
So they can still help working with subcommittee issues,
And
but
we
they
hope
just
for,
wouldn't.
we hope for that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I guess my take is I've been, like Andrea mentioned, I mean, the Town and School Safety Task Force, the budget, Town and School Budget Task Force, those were both huge committees dealing with really difficult issues that were very efficient. So I'm a little bit less concerned about size. I also got really excited about the applicants. I think a lot of the applicants that we're talking about, whether or not we move to entertain that issue in full tonight or not, were first-time folks, first time raising their hand, getting involved in a committee. I think that we have an important inclusiveness sort of engagement strategy here, and I would just hate for us, I would be inclined to, I've been on many committees that function well at that size, so my vote will be to continue along with this recommendation, and part of that is because I'm so excited about some of the young new voices that we could bring in on a committee that we haven't had before.
And that's the challenge for the two co-chairs.
They're going to have to get very good at balancing that.
Now we hear.
Any other comments before we move to a motion? Okay, I think the right thing to do probably is to go ahead and entertain a motion reflecting what the committee's proposal is. So the proposal is to change the charter to move to 13 full members, 6 alternates, 2 student members, and then maintain the 2 liaison positions. So I'll entertain that motion, and anyone wants to second it?
So moved.
Okay, I'll second that. So all in favor of moving forward with the recommendation as put before us by the DEI committee, vote aye.
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 Okay. Nay?
No.
Okay. So the vote is 4-1. So over to you, Catherine.
Okay, so for school committee, we will take a motion to approve the 15 full voting members and 6 alternate non-voting members. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Laurie. And then roll call, Bill?
Nay.
Shayna?
Nay.
Val? Aye. Jess? Aye. Laurie?
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
I should have kept track of that. So it was how many yes and how many no?
4-2.
4-2.
4-2, okay. Thank you. Okay, so that is the first topic. The second topic for us tonight.
Tom,
Yes, go ahead, Chris.
Before we move on,
Yep.
I just want some clarity. So you have an open position on the alternate. Are you going to re-advertise that position and take new applicants and try to fill that if applicants are out there willing to, I'm interested in
I
joining?
think what we'd like to do is talk it over with.
Yeah, we haven't really decided that, and as I just said earlier, we will come to you for advice and guidance on if you would recommend us to do it. We are open to do that as well, and we were also reconsidering whether we need to fill that position or not. So we'll come to
I think
you.
we just did that, right? So by giving you what you asked for, you have this open seat. So implicit, I think, in that vote is, yes, you should follow the practice of, if there's people out there that are interested, go through the process that you followed and fill that position. I don't think it's, if you feel you don't need it, then come back and say, hey, we don't need this position, get rid of it. But you just told us you do, so therefore I think you should attempt to fill it.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would accept that as Chris's input, and only because they haven't had a chance to meet as a committee and address this at all.
I don't, that's, address what? Filling the
The
position? or-
fact that this extra position ended up being vacant was something that has not come before their committee yet. They're aware of that now, but it's not been on an agenda for their committee yet. So I'm just sensitive to the fact that I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Sure.
We're just asking for the position, so to come back and say I don't need it in a week doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
I'm just trying to be sensitive to the fact that they haven't had a dialogue as a committee yet about this.
Okay.
Okay. Second topic is basically recommending that we accept as full members the 4 folks who had previously been alternates. And I think there's some good questions about this. So why don't we first have a discussion again as us, then the school committee, then public. Who has some questions or concerns about the idea of, as a panel, advancing the 4 alternates to full members?
Well, once we approve the structure, I think that's the next move, and I think it's
Well, I think we could decide that we're comfortable with doing that. I think I would point out that it's different from what we've been moving towards in terms of recommendations for the committee. Now, the timing is such that I think we could make a reasonable choice either way, but the idea of, as a panel, moving alternates up instead of opening up the full member positions for a full public opening and discourse, that has been what we've been recommending. But I think in this case, you could also take the reasonable position that these folks have put in the time, and they've been sort of in an apprenticeship learning role for a long time, and that they're ready to advance. So I just, if we can either discuss this, or if people have questions or not. Yeah, Chris.
So I guess because of some of the inconsistencies with the vote, even though we had a roll call and we could figure it out, and we have this other open spot that we didn't previously know about, it seems like this is a good opportunity to have you guys come together, redo some of that work, and come back with, you know, an approved vote by your committee. What I'm thinking at this point.
Okay, so you just.
So I just want to, sorry,
If you-
I just
yeah,
want to
please,
provide a
go ahead.
clarity on this. So which is, we have had issues where full members did not really come for the meetings, and these people, I'm talking about many years ago, 3 years ago. Since 2023, we accepted 10 alternate members. Out of those, 4 members have been regular and have contributed in so many different ways to the committee. When we got the guidance that the alternate members should not be voting moving forward, in order to respect that guidance, we wanted to give the same right that we have given to these members in the past 2 years to vote. We thought that it will be a good point to reconsider our structure and give these people the same right they have had for the past 2 years, like a voice through voting. They have been regularly attending the meetings, and I believe that since the structure is approved, accepting them from alternate to full member will make just a good sense, because then we know that we will have a quorum in the future. We didn't want to rely on other people that has never attended the meeting and then having to fall under the same trap of not having the quorum and not being able to meet in the future. Everyone, including all the full members, actually unanimously voted for these alternate members to be accepted as a full member, and hence the request is to accept all 4 of them who decided to move to full member, and one of them, Meghna Patil, has chosen to stay alternate.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, Noel?
I'm wondering if the vote would have been different had the full members been voting on the new full-time member positions with all 4 of them, all 5, 6, no, however many people, or 5 people that applied, there's 4, so it's 9. Okay, so we have the 9 people. I'm wondering if the votes would have been different if the voting members were voting on which members they would like to be full members and which members they would like to be alternate members. And I think that would be different than just clumping them all and asking, do you want to elevate them? If the vote was person by person and there was an interview of, like, you know, the same questions, would that have been different?
It sounds like,
Sorry, go ahead.
It sounds like you're talking about a process potentially going forward. And I just wanted to reiterate what Angeli said, and that is that these folks and the restructuring that you just approved, that I think they go hand in hand.
Can I add something? So Noel is saying that when we opened it up to entire committee to vote whether we all accept and vote for them to convert from alternate to full member, should we have gone person by person versus clubbing all of those votes together? It was open for discussion. It was open for discussion. None of the members actually asked that, hey, can we actually vote person by person versus clubbing all them together? It appeared during the discussion that it was not a question for anyone. Everyone would actually vote for it. So I'm not sure if that would have made any difference.
Well, then the interview process happened after that. So I'm wondering if perhaps there were people that night that were interviewed that folks then would be like, well, maybe this person would be better for that position. And
interviews were separate for the alternate positions, Noel. Those were different.
I know, but
yeah.
perhaps those alternate positions would want to be full-time members. And I feel like now that we have 4 full-time member openings and the alternate openings, those should be looked at as person by person of whether or not the committee thinks this is a full-time member that we want, you know, a new voice, somebody who has the, you know, a background that aligns with our mission going forward.
That's a good point. No, sorry, Joe. I mean, I would say that I would still give it an opportunity to people in the public to come and attend the meetings regularly in the future. And if really comes the time where we are ready to evaluate that they are valuable to the committee and should be considered as a full member, we will revisit that in the future. That's what my stand would be.
And I would just say, I appreciate your point of view, but it's hard to know what would have been the case, and it could have turned out exactly the way it did.
I think it might have. So just for, we've been talking about this process a lot. So the concern that we've had is, are we automatically moving people from alternate to full-time? Are we automatically renewing people who've been on the committee when maybe their enthusiasm's dropped and there's new people we should be listening to? So what we're recommending is that for any new full committee position, you really open it up. Now, it could be that the inside track is someone who's shown up and shown commitment and gotten up to speed on the skills, and maybe they're the obvious choice. But there are also times when that's not the best choice for the committee. So this is you're catching the side of a general conversation we've been having. Should we have automatic renewals, automatic elevations? And in general, we're concerned that that's probably not really best practice. So were this whole thing to happen again differently, and this policy's new, so this policy came out a year ago, we probably would have had a conversation that said, it's really good to make sure that the people you're picking are the best fit for the committee, and that could very likely be the people who've been training as alternates, but maybe not in all cases. So you're catching the side of this conversation we've been having. So, John.
I think we've created kind of a conundrum on our own. If now we've increased the number, the structure, then the quorum now is 8.
They have to be quorum.
And if we don't put these other 4 members on there, we may have a problem getting them to meet again. So
that's a good point, Joe.
I think the process that I've observed, I think is consistent with what we've asked for. And we've got another year, 2026 is coming up pretty fast.
Yeah.
So by changing the structure, putting in 4 new members in, and then there's going to be a change. There are going to be memberships renewed in July of 2026. And that'd be a good time for them to reach that.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe some
I
grace.
think we kill this now. I think we've created another problem. It's going to be, it's going to be problematic moving forward.
Okay, excellent point. I understand your position.
Okay.
Any other comments from select board or questions before we turn it over to our school colleagues?
Yeah, briefly, Tom. I think I have concerns about the vote. I already expressed those, but I think I can, you guys have kind of convinced me. But I want to reiterate what Chris Barrett had said, that I really think that the committee has to make it a priority to figure out what's happening with this open seat.
Sure.
And do so at the next meeting. We've talked a lot about inclusion and trying to get more people involved and stuff, and it's like, okay, well, here's a perfect opportunity. So
Understood. Thank you.
that's my view on it. But so I think I'm okay with it as we've discussed.
Okay, if we're set, Catherine.
Thank you. I'm going to ask school committee if we have any comments or questions. I'd like to try and make it brief. I'm very conscious of the time and how long this conversation has gone on, and sorry, but in the spirit of efficiency and trying to get some work done. So if there's anybody who's any questions for Joe or Anjali or select board.
This is just for the
Lisa, Joanna.
This is just for the elevation of the 4.
The Lisa, Joanne,
Yeah.
Kathy, and
Yeah.
Cynthia to full.
To full, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I think the comment is that, I voted for the increase because I think boards know what they need, committees know what they need, so you ask for it, we'll give it to you, but what I don't hear is an understanding of what the expectations are for a full member, and it sounds like attendance is an issue. Can we fix that? How do we really clarify what a seat on this committee means before we start filling them again? And then the question is, can we appoint the 4 folks for some sort of a temporary term? Is that maybe what was alluded to?
So maybe this is a good time to ask, so when you put forward the terms that you're recommending, if we choose to vote on that, you've got staggered terms?
Yes, staggered terms.
So
All of
we're
the-
trying to migrate to staggered terms?
All of the full members right now are June 30th, 2026. So if we are going to appoint 4 of the alternates to 4 full members, I would recommend that 2 of them be expiring in June of 2027 and 2 expire in June of 2028.
Okay, maybe you can think about which names you want to attach.
I'll let you, I mean, I will offer that. It's ultimately your appointment, so
Yes.
I don't want
we
to
would
do
love
that
a-
for
we'd
you,
love
but
a
I could
first draft
recommend,
from
I
you.
could recommend.
First draft from you for the purposes of this. Members, are you ready for members of the public? Catherine?
Sorry, I just want to.
Yeah,
respond
please.
to that. Sorry, so how long is your current term? How
3
long-
year-
They're
3
3-year
years.
terms, so why
Yes.
could we not have everybody start on and end on the 2027?
Because we don't want to have a full turnover in one.
Right, and that's
We want to,
happening in
we want to
2026.
start staggering terms that a third of the committee turns over in 2026, a third turns over in 2027, a third turns over in 2028, and then we perpetuate that. So right now, we do have an issue with the majority turning over in 2026, but we would make that correction.
So literally everybody?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they're just staggered.
It sounds like that's a mechanism that would facilitate potentially adjustments to our, to our numbers.
I think a separate topic for another time
Yeah.
is if we want to modify existing terms, but I don't think we need to do that right now.
Right.
Catherine, are you okay if we go to members of the public?
Yes.
Okay.
Wendy Gloyd, 16 Pleasant Street. I wasn't aware when we made this vote to elevate these folks. I didn't think it would affect their expiration date. Some of those were part of a cohort that I was part of in the summer of 2023. We were not asked the interview questions that had been asked of the original cohort that came aboard and later cohorts. So there are members of that grouping that I'm not sure have been properly vetted, and I'm included in that. So, so I would either recommend that their expirations remain as they are now and not adjust those, or let it go back to the vote of the committee, because I don't think we had that understanding that their expiration was going to change.
I think the normal course would be anyone who currently has a term would serve out their term, and we begin the staggering later.
Okay.
So I don't think we would, I've never seen anyone say, okay, we're going to reassign and shorten some of the terms.
I thought that's
Anyone
what.
anyone who's currently serving, the normal practice would be they complete their term.
Oh, I misunderstood that.
Yeah, I may have been
Kristen was
unclear.
saying that those would change.
Yes.
Well, just for the 4 that are being.
The 4 that are being elevated, the terms
from-
would be
From
2027 or
alternate to full members, their full membership wouldn't be up for review until 27 and 28. Their term wouldn't expire until 27, 28.
Oh.
Because the rest of the committee is all currently June 26.
Okay, I do have an issue with that. I don't think I think they need to be properly vetted through our process, because they haven't been.
Okay. Thank you, Wendy. Okay, I don't see any other members of the public, so I think what we would do now is entertain a motion for 2 of the proposed candidates for full terms for a term ending 2027 and 2 for a term ending 2028. I don't know, Joe and Anjali, if you have a strong opinion about who you would like to propose for a 27, basically a 2-year term and then a 3-year term.
I would recommend Lisa to stay for longer, so 3-year term, because she was recently appointed, so that will give her a
Okay.
good
So
opportunity.
I don't think Lisa's, is Lisa, okay. yep,
She is,
sorry.
Lisa
yeah,
is part of that.
So Lisa, a 2028 term, and
Yeah.
we need one other
I
2028 term.
think Joanne.
Joanne would be another
Okay,
person.
and so can you just tell me who the 2027 terms would be then? Just
So
for purposes of the motion.
Kathy Creed and Cynthia King,
Okay.
27 terms.
They're longer serving.
This is purely a mechanism to get onto the rolling schedule, so I don't know, do you have any?
Yeah, I would pick a slightly staggered arrangement there, guys. Maybe pick Kathy or Cynthia as one of the options, just to balance things out a little bit.
Okay. Kathy? Kathy has 28 in that case.
Okay. So
So
could you just repeat? I'm
so
sorry,
I've-
thank you.
I have
Kristen.
Catherine Creed for 2028. I have Joanne Durr for,
Lisa, please.
and Lisa for 2028. So Joanne Durr would be 2027 and Cynthia King would be 2027.
Thank you.
Okay, do I have that motion?
Do you need me to repeat that?
No.
I will make that motion.
Okay. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you to you, Catherine.
Okay.
And if you want to borrow the same motion, we can, we can press on poor Kristen to read it out for you again.
Motion to ditto?
That'll work.
Second. Thanks, Val. Bill?
Aye.
Shayna?
Aye.
Laurie? Aye. Jess? Aye. Val? Aye. And I'm an aye, so that's 6.
Okay, so now we have our structure, we have the full members filled, so now the question is the alternates. The process for alternates was advertised for 4 slots, and we have your recommendation for who the 4 slots would be. I think all of us had a chance to watch the meeting, and I think many of our school colleagues did too. Questions from the select board regarding the 4 alternate proposals that have been put forward?
I'll just make a quick statement if
Sure,
I may.
yep.
Just thanks for all the folks that came out and participated in your process. I think you guys did have a thoughtful process and that your questions were well-grounded and a great step in the right direction. Again, I will reiterate, I do think that you need to move forward with filling that last slot as soon as possible. But, thanks
Yeah,
everybody.
I also, I think all 5 were new voices in a committee post like this, so that's exciting. Okay, that was our discussion on that topic. Now we'll go to the school committee for that discussion on that topic. Public discussion on the topic, come back and vote. Okay.
So school committee, any questions or comments? No? Okay, we can go to public.
Okay,
comment.
members of the public?
Megan O'Connell, 44 South Chelmsford Road. I just want to make sure that both boards are aware before you vote that it's not exactly the case that all 4 seats were open and advertised the entire time. You know, they opened up at different times. And the 3rd seat, I believe, opened up at the end of October. And the 4th seat only about 2 weeks ago. And if you look at when the volunteer activity forms came in, there were 8 that came in over the last 6 months. 6 of them since the beginning of October. Of those 8 people, 2 withdrew and 1 just didn't follow the process, just didn't get involved. So that left 5 for what are now 5 seats. But I think it's important to know that it wasn't 4 seats open the entire time, that additional seats opened up over the last month. 2 of them, and now 3.
Okay, good. Thank you for the clarification. Any other comments from the public? Okay, so.
And just clarifying, there are currently 5 seats for alternates with the new structure that you voted on this evening.
Yes.
And there is a recommendation for 4 alternates this evening, and what I'm hearing is you'd like them to go back to vet for that 5th seat.
Following sort of the discussion that we
Following
had
discussion.
earlier.
Yep, exactly.
Because it appeared on the verge of the interview day.
Right.
The idea would be that you open up another process. Strong recommendation from Chris is that you open up another process and go through
Well,
and
hang
solicit
on.
input.
Chris is one member. We, as a select board and as a school committee, we haven't given them that charge. No offense, Chris.
No,
Right,
and I said it that way.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I said it that
yeah.
way. I mean, just,
Yeah.
yeah.
So maybe just have that conversation and come back to us with your thoughts on what that is. You've gotten feedback from select boards, somewhat in the school committee, so.
Okay.
Because I had asked them they're about that 5th seat, if we needed it, in somewhat trying to consider balance. And considering we had a 4-2 vote on school committee and the size of it, that maybe there is some thought to give into that structure.
Yeah, absolutely. So if the determination is that it's not needed for some reason, then you'd come back again.
Right.
Sure.
And we
We'd have that
absolutely
conversation.
appreciate the input. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Catherine.
Sorry, Chris. I was wondering if you've been elevated.
I just want to see a decision made sooner rather than later. What I don't want to have happen is,
Exactly.
to Megan's point, I don't want seats sitting out there for
For 6
months.
months, 100%.
Right, when people are putting out applications and have interest. I think that's not fair for the
Completely
applicants.
agreed. Yeah, completely agreed.
Okay. So we have a motion I'm sorry, did someone make the motion?
No, I think the motion was to approve the 4
Yes.
suggested applicants for the alternate
Yeah, and
positions.
are the terms?
What are the
and
terms?
with
We
staggered
need to
terms?
stagger the terms as well. Right now, and please, I apologize if I mispronounced her name, Megna is an alternate member.
Yes, she is.
And her term is 2026.
Yes.
So, and then, so I would recommend that the alternates that you're going to, if you are going to vote this evening, that 2 be 2027 and 2 be 2028, and then the other alternate that's open remain 2026.
Okay. Tonight, all we have to decide is that
Yes.
2 of them are 2027, 2 of them are 2028, same as
Yes.
before. If you could give us the names that we can identify.
Sure. So we recommend Andrea to be 2028,
Okay.
and we recommend Pooja as 2028. Alyssa and Catherine could be 2027.
Okay, so that's the motion. Would anyone like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you very much, Catherine.
School committee, I make a motion to approve the 4 alternate members as named in the memo. Second, thanks, Bob. Thank, Bill?
Are you okay, Bill?
I disagree.
Thanks, Bill. Shayna?
I'm not sure if they were agreeing or disagreeing, but I'm an aye.
Laurie?
Aye.
Jess?
Aye.
Val?
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
Okay, with that, we thank our DI co-chairs. Actually, just because of the lateness of the hour, I suggest that we move on. But quickly, I do hope we have some conversations together with school committee, with us, and pick a couple focus areas we can team up for the year. We talked about that earlier today on the phone. I don't know if quickly anyone has some areas that they'd like to suggest that they'd be thinking about, but I think what we'd like is for there to be some offline conversations, and then maybe you can come back and say, here's some focus areas that make sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think that's a good idea.
Any, are people okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't we, are you okay if we just break this?
I mean, the
Okay.
fact we have Noelle and Valerie as the liaisons of all their meetings, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. So sometime like in a month or so, it'd be great if we could
Sounds good.
focus.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We are now at our 7:35 agenda item, which is we're still in joint session with the school committee. This is Mike talking about the power purchase agreement with Amoresco for the roof-mounted solar generation system installation. I know, Mike, you're going to give us an overview of this, so take it away.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. And I'm just going to share my screen real quick. Everybody would have had an opportunity by now to see the packet that we sent out that I think had quite a bit of information in there. We do have Beth Greenblatt, our consultant with Beacon Integrated Solutions, as well as a few representatives from Amoresco, in case there are any questions. But just in the interest of time, what I wanted to do is just draw your attention to slide 4 and use that as somewhat of the basis for our decision process. You'll recall when we met on this with town meeting, we asked for approval and received for the town manager to act on, or the select board to act on behalf of town meeting to enter into the lease for a PPA, if that was the option that we deemed was the most appropriate. So where we are right now is after the past month or so, we've had an opportunity to really model out what a town-owned system would look like and what a Amoresco-owned system would look like under power purchase agreement. And that is really summarized in slide 4, but what I wanted to do was walk through some of the decision points that we looked at to make the decision to recommend a power purchase agreement as opposed to a town-owned system. Number one, and this is discussed pretty extensively in the memo, is really the expiration and the potential risk to those 30% investment tax credits. There's actually 2 pieces to that. One is going to be the modules themselves and the need to safe harbor them prior to the end of the year due to what we call fiat compliance, the foreign entities of concern regulations that basically say after December 31st, we don't know if we can use Chinese panels to facilitate this installation. So that's one of the critical deadlines that we're coming up against. The second that really is very relevant to the decision to do a PPA versus town-owned is if we did this on our own nickel, we would have to borrow for this, which would require us to wait until town meeting to get a borrowing authorization, and then to safe harbor these panels to get the 30% tax credit, we would have to be 5% through construction by July 3rd of 2026. Given procurement issues, given the uncertainty around the fiat compliancy, that's a risk I don't think that we want to take. So we're back to the idea of doing a PPA as the most appropriate vehicle to get solar on Blanchard. Beth Greenblatt did take a very thorough look at the savings or the potential benefit to the town. And really what we're looking at is a comparison between this column here, the larger of the two power purchase systems, a 582 kilowatt DC system, and the high cost of the town owned system, because we can't count on that ITC. And what we see is best case scenario, if all the stars align, we're going to be roughly equal between the larger PPA and the base case town-owned system. If it doesn't work out that we can get good pricing to construct that, we're going to be on the low side of it. The financial benefit to us, given all of the risks, is to enter into a PPA. The other big reason that really pushes us towards that as the best solution, and this is again detailed in the memo and it's modeled out in Beth's costs, is we don't have the capacity to manage these systems. We don't have the staff to maintain them. We have a system now on Stony Brook that has had inverters down for years, and we haven't had the ability to fix these things. We cannot find contractors in some cases to work on them. They are a maintenance burden. A PPA is essentially a turnkey system. All the maintenance is handled. We still get the benefit of basically the alternative on-bill credits. So our net benefit in a year over the 20-year course of this is around $30,000 a year. So you can look at really the two different PPA systems and see the difference between the smaller and the larger. The primary difference there is really when we do the larger system, we're able to secure a lower rate. And that kind of gets us to the third point of why we would recommend the PPA is ultimately what this is for us is a hedge against power prices for that particular building. It is very unlikely that we won't see benefit in the way that the rate structures and the reimbursements work. That's modeled out and really explained in significant detail in the memo. But what we're asking for at this point is both the school committee and the board allow the town manager to finish negotiating the PPA agreement. Town council will review this. Beth will review this. We will review this. Clean Energy has reviewed what we've had so far as a draft. They will review this and basically execute that in about the next week so that we can get these panels safe harbor by the end of the month. So just in the interest of time, I wanted to give you the short version and ask if anybody had any specific questions after reading through this.
Yeah, so thanks, Mike. This is really exciting to be here. We've been pushing for this for a long time, so it's really exciting to see this next sort of phase in the green energy for the town moving forward. Questions for Mike? Yeah, John?
So this contract's going to be between us and Amoresco?
Yes, sir. Well, it'll be between us and a subsidiary LLC of Amoresco. They'll actually create a separate little LLC that'll have that lease on top of that building, but effectively, yes, us and Amoresco.
I noticed in the contract that you included, I think it was contract between those two, one our contract. They talked about a termination fee if something should happen. I'm concerned about the milestones we have to meet and what the risks are, and is there a go, no-go date? In other words, if we miss one of these dates, it's not going to fly, and if, for example, if something would happen to endanger our July date next year, then where are we as far as finances and that sort of thing?
That's the piece we're working through right now, and I'll invite Beth to chime in if she has anything else to add. But essentially, the risk of not having the construction at 5% by July 3rd is virtually nil. They're ready to pull the trigger on this and start construction in the spring. And we basically just have to have shown progress on construction of 5% by July 3rd. So we feel that's a relatively low risk. If we can get everything lined up in terms of the agreement and council approves everything and Beth approves of what she's looking at, then we should have no issues safe harboring. Beth is going to be reading that contract very carefully, as will KP Law, to make sure that essentially we've got some safeguards against and some guarantees that fiat compliancy will occur, that the SMART program through the state will be applied for, that interconnection with National Grid will not be an issue, and those are going to be conditions for us on a final agreement. So if we do a PPA, the risk is relatively very, very low. Beth, do you have anything to add in terms of what our risk would be that we wouldn't be able to hit deadlines on a PPA?
No, and thank you, Mike. I think, Amoresco would enter into an agreement with an understanding of all of the key metrics that need to happen in order to comply with the then current or now current fiat requirements, but also to safe harbor the assets. They are negotiating a rate which could be significantly impacted if those milestones are not achieved, but they will be agreeing in the contract to that rate. So it is sort of while it's a shared risk, a lot of the heavy lifting right now will be on Amoresco once you enter into a contract with them. They will need to apply for the solar incentive program from the Commonwealth. They will need to make sure they've positioned the project with respect to the federal tax credits, and then get ready to mobilize and start construction and build up the project in accordance with the contract obligations.
Thanks, Beth. Go ahead.
Why did you follow up? I guess the reason I was concerned, I saw in that contract where there was a heavy penalty for termination.
Mm-hmm.
And who's liable for that? Is that Amoresco's liability to?
If we terminate the agreement early, so their rate structure is essentially built on the profit that they will make over a 20-year period while they're doing it and amortizing the cost of their investment. If we draw out early for any reason that is not, a default on their behalf, then that is a penalty on us.
Yeah.
Beth, is that fully accurate?
Yeah, the termination payment schedule is early termination payment, right? So if the town enters into the agreement, Amoresco constructs, the system is operational, and after X number of years, the town terminates. It's technically a liquidated damage of sort. It's a defined damage because they financed the project, Mike, as you indicated, based on the anticipated revenues over the life of the contract. And so it's an obligation for sure, and it's one that, clearly we take very seriously, but the probability of the town early terminating unless a default occurs, and those issues, as you saw, are very well documented and considered under the contract terms.
Go, John.
The budget impact year to year, is there some way kind of summarizing?
Yes, actually.
What we have to do as far as provide a budget, or what the impact on our budget is?
What we have to do in terms of budget is essentially buy a guaranteed minimum amount of power, which is, Beth, I don't have the number directly in front of me, but essentially by the time we see the alternative on-bill credits come back for excess power that we sell to the grid and that we purchase the amount that we are to get, and then we save what we would have paid under our current electricity rate, it's a net positive of about $30,000 a year for Blanchard.
Yeah,
and that's conservative.
Right, and just to clarify, so there are two revenue streams that the town will see. One is you have the renewable electric generation going right into your building. And when that occurs, you are offsetting actually buying from the grid. Instead, you're buying some of your energy from the grid and some from the sun. That which you're buying from the sun is provided by Amoresco, and for every kilowatt hour that they generate from the sun, you will pay them at a fixed rate for that year, and that rate is defined in the contract and articulated in the summary slides that I had presented. For every kilowatt hour that the building has now consumed everything it can, it's going to export to the grid. Under the rules in the Commonwealth, National Grid has to buy that from you, and National Grid has to pay you for it, and they're paying you for it at their cost of supply, is basically the construct of that relationship. So you're getting economic value by avoiding buying from the grid, and so there's savings there because you're paying Amoresco less than you otherwise would pay National Grid for not only the supply that you've contracted through a third party, but also for them to deliver it. You're getting the energy delivered right there on site. And then any excess energy that's generated, electricity that's generated, goes to the grid, and the savings is the difference between the compensation you're getting from the grid versus what you're paying Amoresco to produce those kilowatt hours. So it's a sort of a double revenue stream benefit that you would get.
Thanks. Any other questions?
Yeah, it's a net positive for us.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, Kathy?
Wow, thank you for that, Mike. Yes.
Tried to keep it short.
And so simple. Any committee member questions, comments?
I had just a quick one. I don't know that any of us run for school committee because we're experts or passionate about solar, right? But I do know we have a committee that does, and you mentioned, Mike, that the clean energy was involved in this, and I was just wondering if you could say a little bit more. I don't want to call on anybody in the audience to speak to that, but I'd love.
But you figured that's why he's here.
I would encourage the chair to stand up.
I have an idea. Mike, would you like to?
We got a guy.
I just want to hear from the people who I consider,
Yep.
passionate about
Me
this.
too.
Because,
Yeah. Please, welcome.
and it's Blanchard Middle School.
Welcome, Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that. Thank you. Mike Berlinski, Chair of the Clean Energy and Sustainability Committee. As we shared the note to you, we did vote and did endorse this path. We support all that Mike said. We appreciate all the effort of the staff and consultants and the effort that Amoresco put into this. We do think this makes sense. Having solar as soon as possible, maximize the incentives, get the benefit, a large a system as possible, bigger benefit, lower rate, lower cost to us, bigger net benefit, and understanding what the challenges of maintenance, buying equipment, PPA rate does seem to make sense. So we do agree with this recommendation. We do support and we do appreciate it. We're very excited for the first major solar system on municipal school property here in Westford. I think that really goes a long way to our clean energy and environmental sustainability goals. So we really appreciate that. Hope you'll support. Hope everything moves quickly and successfully. So thanks, Mike. Job well done.
Yeah, thanks, Mike, to you and your committee.
Yep.
Okay. Any other comments from the public? Okay. If not, we're back to voting. So I'll entertain a motion to.
So there's actually
go
two
ahead.
votes this evening.
Okay. Thank you.
We need a vote from the school committee to approve authorization for lease of space of the installation of the system and storage on the Blanchard Middle School.
You need that as a first vote. and
First
then-
vote, yes.
It's on the screen there, so.
Oh, it's perfect, so there we go. So moved from Val. Thank you. Laurie, so Bill?
Aye.
Shayna?
Aye.
Laurie?
Aye.
Jess?
Aye.
Val?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. There you go.
And then we need authorization by the select board to authorize the town manager to finalize and execute the lease and agreement on behalf of the select board and the school committee.
Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Beth,
Sean.
and Zach and Dan. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
Thank you so much. If you'd like to adjourn your committee.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you, Beth. You too.
Motion to
Thank you, Beth.
adjourn. So do I have a second? Okay, Bill?
Aye.
Shayna? Laurie?
Aye.
Jess?
Aye.
Val?
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, school committee colleagues. Thank you, guys. You guys are welcome to stay. We're going to talk next about the conservation restriction notice for the Stony Brook Park, the Stony Brook Conservation Area. And we welcome Andrea Perrin-Sweet on behalf of the Westford Land Preservation Foundation. Welcome.
So I'm wearing my hat tonight as president of the Westford Land Preservation Foundation. I think, as all of you know, the foundation holds the CR to East Boston camps. After more than 20 years, and because we feel that we have basically fulfilled our mission, we have voted to dissolve ourselves. But that leaves the conservation restriction on East Boston camps, which is really the major asset, if you want to call it an asset. It's the major item that we hold and that we monitor for the town. Since the spring, we have been in contact with and in negotiations with Sudbury Valley trustees. They currently hold 3 conservation restrictions here in Westford. They hold the CR on the O'Brien property, they hold the CR on Salt Box Farm, and they hold the CR on Francis Hill Preservation, which is Bill and Marion Harmon's land that they put a conservation restriction on to benefit the town. So SVT has agreed to take over and transfer of the CR. That is part and parcel of what we need to do to dissolve ourselves, which is a very much more complicated procedure and process that I anticipated, and I won't bore you all with it, but suffice it to say that I have to get approval from the Attorney General's office and the SJC before we can dissolve ourselves. But part of that is that we have to be able to show that we are transferring the CR to basically a similar entity as the land preservation that does the same thing that the land preservation does. So I'm here tonight to ask you, also, the reason I'm here tonight is because if you look at the original agreement between the foundation and the town, under that agreement, section 10, if the foundation is going to transfer the CR, we have to give you 90 days notice, and we also need your approval to do so. So I'm here tonight for 2 reasons. One, please consider this your 90-day notice, plus the written letter that I sent to you. And secondly, to ask for your approval for us to transfer the CR to Sudbury Valley trustees so that we can make that representation in the application that we have to file with the AG's office and the SJC. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Questions for Andrew?
Yeah, is the Conservation Commission involved in this?
No.
Not at all, huh?
No.
Okay.
Andrea, who are the Sudbury trustees?
So the Sudbury Valley trustees are a nonprofit organization out of Sudbury. I don't know how long they've been in existence, Sean, but for a very long time. And they are very well known as holders of conservation restrictions and also protectors of the environment. They hold restrictions across the eastern part of the state.
Lots and lots.
I have a question.
Yeah, no.
With the camps, I know being on the Conservation Commission, we were having a hard time with the roads. And the parents driving up and down to the camps was causing a lot of problems with the roads. And unfortunately, there was an agreement signed with the camp that they could do that, which is against the conservation restriction. Are we looking to maybe pump up our wording in here so that we're protecting our road a little?
So I'm going to let Kristen address that, because there have been ongoing discussions between the town, Teamworks, who rents the property, and the foundation and the Conservation Commission. So I'm going to let you take that one.
So as we've had discussions with the foundation and with the Conservation Commission as town staff, we have all read the conservation restriction, and the interpretation is actually that the roadway should be in its current state. It should not be paved. I think we're under the current agreement that there is no restriction on the number of vehicle trips up and down, but it should be preserved to ensure that we're preserving the roadway. So the foundation, the Conservation Commission, and the staff are under the same agreement. We have a plan moving forward to maintain the roadway. The Conservation Commission is currently in negotiations with Teamworks for their next lease, and it does include a component that would be beneficial to the town related to the roadway. Did I get that correct?
I think so.
Yeah. Is this something that we could add to the restriction? To amend it to be that, there's a certain amount of, really emergency vehicles should be out there?
Well, I think that's up to the Conservation Commission and the Select Board. We would want to have that discussion further. I don't know what the process is to amend a conservation restriction. We need to look into that further as well.
I think you need to go under Chapter 97, and I think you need to go through the state, and the state has to sign off on it.
I'm wondering if that might be worth doing, if we, I mean, we really want to protect that road, and we're not always going to have the same Conservation Commission members, and, you know, and.
I hear you, and I certainly agree, and as I said, as Kristen just said, I mean, as an initial starting point, and something that the foundation, you know, was adamant about throughout this whole process, was that the road can't be paved, and that you need to figure out how you're going to get children in and out of those camps on a road that can't be paved, and to maintain it in such a way that, you know, parents aren't going to complain and they're not going to lose the underbody of their car when they go through the road because of its poor maintenance. So I think, as Kristen said, moving forward, it's a discussion among you folks, the Conservation Commission, Teamworks, mindful of what the conservation restriction says right now.
And if we transfer this restriction, do we then still have the ability to amend it with?
Not without state approval under Article 97.
But I guess my question is that we would still be able to go that route regardless of who holds the restriction?
We'd have to petition to the state to
Yeah.
amend Article 97.
But it doesn't matter who holds the restriction?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the town is still, or the Conservation Commission is still the counterparty for Team
They're the
Works?
care and the custody of the property, yes, the
Okay,
Conservation
so
Commission.
anything, so if we wanted to have a future action item on, how's that going? That's part of the negotiation with Teamworks?
Yes.
And so that'd be the Conservation Commission?
That they are negotiating the contract, yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
So, so if we want to carry that forward, we should get that on the agenda, but it would be after Andrea's sunsetted from this.
Which I fully support.
Okay. Other questions for Andrea? Any questions from the public? Okay, there being none, we have accepted your notice.
Do you want a proper vote for certified vote?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
For the, for approving.
The transfer.
For the transfer.
Yes, please.
Right. So could, Kristen, could you give me language for that? I know we just said it before.
To authorize the select board to be in receipt of the notice from the Westford Land Preservation Foundation for the transfer of the conservation restriction in accordance with Section 10 of the conservation restriction.
So to authorize, well, I think you want one to
accept notice.
Accept notice, yep.
And the second is to.
And to author, to approve the transfer to SVT.
Right. So I think what Kristen gave us is the first one.
To accept notice under Article 10 of the conservation restriction to transfer the conservation restriction.
Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, then the second motion.
The second motion would be for the select board to approve the transfer of the conservation restriction to Sudbury Valley trustees.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Great, thank you. Thank you so much for your work.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Good, thank you, Andrew. Next up is back to Mike for the update on the pay-as-you-throw program. And again, thanks, Mike, for pulling together a really thoughtful look at this.
Well, unfortunately, I'm not going to blow through this one very, very quickly because I do think this is an important topic that you're going to want to make sure you do not shortchange in your discussion. So give me just a second to let me get this up on the screen. Okay, so I will try to move as expeditiously as I can, just so we have plenty of time for questions. But what we're going to talk about this evening, oops, I guess probably this one, is I'm going to give just a very, very brief recap of really how we got here. This has been ongoing for quite a while, so I want to make sure everybody understands that. We have well, we're still open, but we will be closing shortly a current public input survey. I'll share a few of the results with that. The rest of them were provided in your packet. We will be presenting a recommendation for the board and requesting endorsement of that. I'll go over the financial aspects and the impacts of that recommendation should you choose to accept it, as well as how we feel this will impact both Westford households, but also the town's goals and the town's operations. And then just run very quickly through the next steps in the timeline and then give you really a formal request to act on this, and then take questions, obviously, as I normally do. If you have questions while we go, please feel free to interrupt me and ask, so we can get them while we're in the right spot of slides. So first, I just wanted to show real quick, this hasn't been real quick. This has been something that the town has been talking about since certainly before the first meeting I had there, the 21st of 2021, excuse me, back in March, was really one of the first formal presentations you guys received. There may have been numerous other questions and conversations around this in the past, but since then we have had a number of staff presentations, recycling commission presentations, consultants. We've had the budget task force recommendation, as well as the process that we went through with the strategic plan, and a number of other more recent presentations that I have done to you to get guidance along the way. Where we are right now is acting on the direction that you gave me at the last meeting, which was essentially to move forward with modeling out a hybrid pay-as-you-throw, and really presenting information to let you make a decision between the best way to treat overflow garbage in that system. And so that really is the focus of this information, and the focus of the survey that we just did was how do we deal with things beyond that 35-gallon can that you directed us to have as our basic service. Just real quick, these are essentially the guardrails you guys gave us to develop a program. We wanted first and foremost to have waste reduction as the goal. We wanted to have positive impacts on service delivery, wanted additional equity with the way this service is not only provided but paid for. We did not want to have this program be a detriment to some of our other goals, so housing and economic development goals fit into this. And then lastly, but still importantly, it is a revenue tool. We have had the failed override, we have had to cut other services. This is the largest single contract that we have, and we have yet to talk about cutting this service. Although we've cut teachers, we've cut police, we've cut fire, we've cut DPW, we have not made any impacts to our solid waste program. So this is a way to essentially try to mitigate any changes to that program down the road to make sure it's sustainable. So I want to show just really two questions that we had on the survey. There's a lot of other information in that survey, but it was really primarily to confirm that the information we got as far as people's regular household trash habits was accurate, and we did confirm that with this particular question, but also to ask some questions around how they would like to see excess waste treated from a fee-for-service standpoint, and to get some additional information on types of recycling programs that we would like to offer in conjunction with the pay-as-you-throw program to make sure that it is as low impact as it possibly can be on Westford households. So what you see in the blue there, the question is really, in a typical week, how much trash do you throw away? A 35-gallon container or a 33-gallon bag, and I know because I live in a pay-as-you-throw town, holds about 2 to 3 bags. Tall kitchen bags, pretty much stuffed full. You won't have any problem getting those in a bag. I can usually get a little bit more. But what we wanted to know is how many people on a regular week that's their normal trash. And the last survey that we did a little over a year ago, 64% of residents said that's pretty much our normal week is a 35-gallon container. This time it was a little bit higher, but those numbers are probably going to come down a little bit more as we get some more survey responses. But what we're learning from this is that we've got pretty solid data that says most of the time most people are going to be pretty good with a 35-gallon container based on the numbers that we have. Now our average trash data supports that as well when we look at overall tonnage, number of households, but that's an average, so that's a tough number to rely on. But you know, this is, last survey had a little over 1,000 residents. We're sitting at about 750 right now, and the numbers have been pretty consistent. So we're hoping that people have an opportunity, if they see this tonight, go take this and tell us what your habits are. What is your normal use? So this will really help us to make sure that we're recommending the right type of program. The other question that was really key out of this for us is, for those times when you're over that amount, how would you prefer to deal with it? The two options that we had presented previously to work with a hybrid program of a 35-gallon cart and some other option were bags and second carts, a second identical cart that would be managed with probably a subscription type service and a sticker. But what we found overwhelmingly was people preferred to do the bags, which was really the number one thing that we looked at with what would be the most appropriate way to handle that excess garbage. So I'll talk a little bit about a few of the other reasons that we did that, and they're more logistics and program management. But what it's led us to is a recommendation to try to meet as many of those goals that you established for us in this program, of a hybrid program that we'd be putting into effect right around the first week of July. We have to look at exactly where the holiday falls and where a Monday falls so we could time it out right, but it'd be more or less the first part of July. Every household would receive, at no charge, a 35-gallon automated cart, town branded, and that would be for basic household service. Those would be delivered, again, no charge. This would be largely funded by a grant that we intend to apply for, and anything that fits in that is collected at absolutely no additional charge. And like the numbers showed before, that's going to handle most people most of the time for their weekly garbage needs. For the excess, we're recommending a 33-gallon bag. This is kind of your standard pay-as-you-throw bag that you see in other communities that run either curbside programs or drop off at transfer station. These bags are going to be in rolls of 5. The vendor will work with area retailers, hardware stores, grocery stores, convenience stores. Typically, there's not a problem getting stores to carry these. They're a reason to get people in the door. And the stores don't make any money on these. The money basically comes straight to the town on these. And we're recommending a fee of $2.75 a piece. And in the last presentation that we did, you'll see some additional data on where that falls with most other communities. That the average across communities that run bag-based programs is $2.46 a bag, but most of those do not have one, curbside collection, it's transfer station, nor first unit free. So essentially, your first 35 gallons is free, your second 35 gallons is $2.75. So essentially half of that for double the quantity. And there's no weekly limit on this overflow, so we're actually going to remove the 96-gallon limit because the excess amount is going to be fee-based and it's going to incentivize people to reduce their waste. So this is actually an expansion of the current level of service. Bags can be put on the ground, they can be put in an uncovered container if people are concerned about animals. So that will be something that we deal with during the implementation, is how do those bags go out, how are they picked up, etc. We are not having any changes at this time to curbside recycling, nor do we intend to. And we're not going to change at all the current bulky waste collection program. Those will remain as they are, unlimited recycling and the fee-based bulky waste that is currently in place. So no additional changes on that. So just a couple pictures of the bag and the cart. There's one downstairs if anybody wants to take a look or stop by Town Hall. And then another gentleman standing there just to give you another sense of scale. But a lot of people have these right now around town. A lot of people use a single one. All right. Let me get back just a little bit. Okay, so we had a number of assumptions that went into that. Right now, our budget is projecting a tonnage of in FY27 of around 6,157 tons. We have to make some assumptions because we do have a number of those collections that aren't eligible for the curbside program. So all of our school dumpsters, municipal dumpsters, housing authority properties, those would be dumpster-based collections. We had to make some guesses based on the capacity, the frequency, and the size of those dumpsters to back out some of that information, as well as look at the then eligible households. Now this number may tweak a little bit, the eligible households, because we are going through an exercise right now with our assessor database and with GIS to get that very, very well mapped out. to make sure that we have ADUs, guest houses, things like that factored in. But what we've got down to is essentially an estimate of how much waste is going to wind up going in these containers. And if we look at it really across our household average, a 35-gallon cart is holding 1,800 pounds a year, and on our average right now we're well under 1,400. So just another data point that kind of indicates that on average that 35-gallon container is relatively right-sized most of the time for most people. So we take this information and then push it into estimates for the bags. Now, we looked at this a couple of different ways. I asked the bag vendor to do their independent estimate of bags, and then we did ours by actually looking at those behavior patterns and the amount of waste that fits in each bag. We both kind of came back together with numbers that were strikingly close. So my estimates were a high range of about 175,000 bags a year to 133,000, depending on how much a bag weighs. So average about 154. Their estimates using all of their estimating tools came out to about 164. So we're using as the basis of our estimate 160,000 bags would be sold in the town of Westford in the period of a year. On average, again, across all our households, you're looking at anywhere from 17 to 22 bags. And at $275, an average cost of about $46 to $61 a year for that, for the overflow waste that they would have. To get to that $275, we actually looked at the actual cost to dispose of a bag of trash. And one of the biggest components of this is actually the disposal costs. For a bag of waste, based on the pounds that Mass DEP or Waste Zero estimate fits in one of those bags, and our cost per ton to dispose, you're paying about $1 for a bag to go to the incinerator and get incinerated. So that's the single biggest cost that we have for that waste that is generated above the average. Bags themselves are going to cost us about 46 cents, and we were able to negotiate a rate of 25 cents per bag collection that would be a revenue share with E.L. Harvey. That is significantly lower than what other towns are paying. Most of them are in the buck range for a bag, so we felt that was a good development. We do also have program costs that are going to continue to sustain this program. It will take additional staff time and additional resources to keep this thing operational and really get us dialed in on good contract enforcement and expansion of recycling programs, which is another goal of the way that we want to use this money. So when we look at the cost on average, we're projecting a cost of about $2.71. We're recommending a price of $2.75. So we're covering our costs. We're looking to do some significant expansion to recycling programs. We have funds built in there for the management of the program, and get us to that bottom line and recommend that $2.75. We feel that's a good number, and it's a conservative number that should be a price that can hold for us for a number of years. The last thing we want to do is be low on a price and have to come back year after year and raise it to get to the cost. So what does this look like financially for the town? If we're looking at that 160,000 bag estimate, which again, we've got multiple data points that suggest that's going to be probably where we are. At $275, we're looking at total projected revenue of $440,000. Initial cart purchase after a $246,000 grant would be about $121. Bag purchase, we'd have to be ahead of the curve a little bit with our bag purchase. So essentially we're buying like 15 months in the course of the first fiscal year, and then having several months of the next year already covered, just so we can have that inventory built up. What we are recommending at this time, after talking with our finance director, is that initial 143, we look at that for an end of year budget transfer, just to take that startup cost completely off of our operating cost for the next year. Operating costs, when we start looking at 160,000 bags worth of this, we have that per bag collection, we have program management, which is a position that will partially monitor this program as well as several others. We have additional recycling programs that we want to implement in conjunction with our recycling revolving fund. We've got the bag purchase, we've got a cart management fee, and then we've got a reduction on our tipping fees for a total operating expenditure of about $157,000 in year one. Net revenue, if we factor in the program startup costs, is $138,000. If we're able to cover that with a budget transfer, we're closer to $300,000 in net revenue for year one. And we do have most of these, well, all of these numbers in the recommended budget. They're a little bit different and a little bit more conservative for budget purposes, but you'll hear about that on the 9th when Kristen presents the budget. But we are confident that these are good numbers as well as what is being included in the budget. So before I kind of jump off the finance piece, does anybody have any specific questions on this from the board? Yeah, Noel.
I have questions. So, I know I've reached out to a lot of friends about this and sent the survey out to a bunch of people, and a lot of the question I get back the most is, well, I already have a 35-gallon container. Can I just use that and have like a town sticker on it? And why do I have to get a new one? And then what do I do with my old one?
Well, we do have to move into a branded container. We've got to have that branded container so that they can be identified. There won't be any charge for that, and what we're working on right now, and part of it depends whether this budget transfer is approved, is how we end up doing a take-back program where we can take these things back and recycle them.
Or they could use them for recycling
yeah.
if they would like to use those containers.
Yes.
The containers that they currently have.
Yes.
Yes, we'll have stickers that they can put on them, turn them into a recycle bin. What we want to do with the buyback is actually delay, or the take back, is delay it a little bit and give people a chance to figure out, do I want to use this thing for recycling? Do I have a neighbor that maybe wants it? Do we have another use? Do I even need overflow? You know, there's a lot of different things they can do, but at the end of the day, we do want to have a program to take these back and recycle them. And that we'll be able to do that hopefully either with the grant, with the program revenue, with recycling revolving fund revenue, or some combination of the three. We'll get a little bit closer and we'll figure out exactly what that looks like.
All right, and the last thing, I love the idea of having local businesses offer to sell them at their business. Because then, I mean, I had this when I was living in Lunenburg, and I ended up shopping at a lot of those stores, and I think that this is going to be good for a lot of our local businesses to have these bags there.
Yeah, in talking with the vendor, they very rarely have ever had any retailers decide they don't want to do it. It's a good way to get people in the door.
Yeah, that's great.
It's very convenient.
Other questions?
Well, you know, when this first came up, I think the question was, is this going to be a transfer of money from one pot to another? So what's the budget for trash going to be with this new program? You know, just for the trash. You have what's that projected? Is that
Dan?
I'm looking it up now.
and then I looked at this. You had an extra container. It's going to be about $150 a year for the if you fill the 35, and then you have another 35. That's going to cost you. That other 35 is going to cost you what, $150?
No. What we're recommending is not the second cart.
I know that.
Yeah.
But if you do something equivalent to that,
If
three
you throw a
bags.
bag away,
Three bags.
If you throw a bag away,
Okay, 275
Yes,
times
it's-
52.
yeah, roughly it's a
roughly,
little
yeah.
under $12 a month
Right.
to do one bag a week.
That's close enough to
$11.93.
150.
Yeah,
So,
so.
but I'm trying to give a sense of what the taxpayer's paying for this.
Mhm.
We're paying the budget number, and that's going to, hopefully it'll go down because the tonnage goes down, but it's gradually going up. And then the other one was, if you have that extra, you get 3 bags, and then that's going to be $150 a year for that. Because that's going to be a significant slug of folks in that category, I think.
And I'll show you the numbers on that, but it effectively, what we have when we move into the second cart, if we don't have a bag program, is that's it. You have 2 carts, there is no way to dispose of overflow. We would have to look at, all right, what do you do if they fill 2 carts? There is absolutely nothing that captures the people on the upper end of things, or when you have a graduation party, you have a holiday party. You know, I'm in a pay-as-you-throw town, so it's nice every once in a while, even if it costs a couple extra bucks, to be able to do spring cleaning and put it out. The other thing is, when we do get into that second cart, it's a much more complicated management of the inventory of that cart, the deployment of that cart, the tracking of that cart, and we have to keep those things. So the upside about going with bags now, as opposed to carts, is we can always add carts later. If this program winds up successful and we have high demand, I don't know that we wouldn't be coming back and saying, okay, well, let's look at a 65-gallon cart as an option for people that are willing to pay for it, that routinely buy 2 bags or more a week.
So aside from the cart issue, I think your question was more the
cost.
impact to the family.
Yeah, impact to the families, and it's not just a transfer to get additional revenue. This is really solving a problem.
Do you want to give us a solid waste budget, Dan?
Sure. So for FY27, it's projected to increase by about $140,000. And the reason being is that the contract's going up by $50,000 just for the collection of all the recycling and curbside. We have $40,000 in there for the collection fees for E.L. Harvey, the 25 cents per bag. We have $20,000 in there for carts, because we have to buy additional carts as more families move into town and we have development. And then there's a $30,000 program in there for expanded recycling programs.
So you have all the costs listed there, but
The tipping fees and the collection fees that are part of the main contract.
Oh, the tipping fees are going down by about $68,000 in this projection we have. So we are anticipating the savings from less tonnage.
So what are the tipping fees, the overall cost?
It's about 100. Overall costs, we have $580,000 there for FY27. That's down from 674 or $648,000 from FY26.
Well, that's good. Okay. Because we were at one time paying $1 million, weren't we?
Yeah. Not on tipping fees.
Not on tipping fees, but on trash pickup.
On the original contract we had with Acme, it was a little over $1 million for just the trash component of the curbside collection.
Okay, good.
Sean?
Hey, Mike, has anyone gamed out what they think the net revenue would be in 28, 29, down the road, right? Because it seems like we have a lot of upfront costs here.
Yep.
Is it fair to say that, you know, the net revenue is gonna be higher down the road, or?
Yes, I mean, by the time we take out that startup, you know, it's 143,000, so that puts us net revenue for the current year, at least just based on my model, which is less. Dan's is going to be for a budget purpose, so it's a little bit more conservative. We definitely don't want to overshoot revenue. Mine's a little closer to the realistic side of what the weight projections, et cetera, drive us to. But yes, when we present the budget, you'll see that we have that mapped out through, Dan, do you have a 3-year projection when we ultimately present the budget?
Yes.
Yeah, so just like all of our other accounts, we'll have that.
Okay.
So net of startup costs, just to give you a number, net of startup costs, it's like 300, like a little bit less than $300,000 net positive for the program, but that's up against the additional costs, which are, well, I guess the costs are also here.
Yeah.
So when we look at the full trash budget, I think the punchline will be, when you include this, it sort of stays level or goes down a little bit. So that's the mechanism that allows us to do that.
But there's potential, right, down the road.
Yeah, and potentially.
Potential for?
Well, I mean, more savings, more revenue.
Oh, certainly, yeah. I mean, if you miss on this, you're missing, and essentially your marginal cost and your marginal revenue are changing at much different rates. So
Right.
if you miss and your projections are much higher and people just don't reduce as much, that, yes, it costs us more in tipping fees, but the revenue that we wind up seeing, but you know, the goal is waste reduction. So we would be looking at how do we push that into diversion programs? How do we get waste down? Because long-term, what's going to kill us is going to be our tipping fees. And we've got to end up, to some degree, subsidizing where it makes sense some of these recycling programs so we can get a lot more uptake on them. It is not going to get less expensive to get rid of waste in Massachusetts, and they are not going to suddenly allow us to put more things in the waste. So, you know, I think we're looking at food waste bans.
Yeah, we gotta.
Okay. All right, so, John, you're talking.
You're reverting. Mike.
Yeah, yeah.
You're so efficient and crisp.
All right, so we talk about the impact on Westford households. So this is kind of looking back and breaking into those responses that people said about what they did. I went and took all of those responses, broke them down by household size. And, you know, obviously no surprise when you get into that households with 1 to 2 people, most people are going to be perfectly good with that. 85% not going to have any cost, about 11%, maybe a bag a week. We'll get into 3 to 4, 67%, no cost. A quarter of them, they're into a bag. Households with 5 to 6, yes, that's where we're going to see the impact, is in our larger families. And there unfortunately is no way to avoid that, but they are the largest user of this service, which is a utility service. It is a variable utility service, just like water, sewer, or any other municipal service that's offered out there. And in fact, most communities don't offer curbside collection in Massachusetts. So this is a service that we are offering, and we're trying to sustain it by starting to attach fees based on the volume of use. It's the only way we're going to maintain the current level of service. Any questions on that household impact? There's a lot more data on this in the memo.
You know, this may have a positive social aspect to it. Because if you're one kitchen bag a week and your neighbor's got 5.
Oh yeah, you can team up.
We talked about this a lot. You get to know your neighbors pretty well.
Get to know your seniors.
Yeah,
that's right. Seniors are going to be very popular.
John's going to start renting out extra bag capacity.
We're lonely out there.
It looks like we have a question from Arnie Price.
You want to pull up Arnie's question?
In the interest of progressing through this meeting.
Go ahead, Arnie.
Arnie, how are you?
I'm on. You guys can hear me.
Yep.
Yep. Sound good, Arnie.
Okay, thank you. So I just have a question. Mike, we spoke earlier.
Yep.
Full disclosure was great. On the financial projection, could you explain the $80,000 program management, what that is?
So, and you'll hear more information about this on the 9th when Kristen presents the budget, but we are recommending that the revenue generated from this program funds a management analyst that will largely focus in year 1 on managing this program and expanding our recycling. We are at a desperate need for analytical capacity in both the finance department and the town manager's office. And you know, over the past year and a half, we've really busted our butts to get a lot of these energy projects done and get a lot of these waste reduction projects done. And that is going to require staff support if we want that momentum to continue. Just on managing solid waste contracts and auditing that, in the last year and a half, we've saved over $130,000. A lot of that was done with volunteer capacity that's limited, but we have to have management analyst and analytical capacity to end up running these programs.
Yeah. Okay. So you may be blending a couple of things together there. When you talk to towns that have had this kind of structure in place in the form that we're talking about, what's the kind of regular overhead costs that people are putting in? Because I think once you got this up and running, it seems like there'll be some additional management, but it doesn't seem like there'll be like a full-time equivalent kind of requirement.
No, I think over time, I think after the first year, we would look at transitioning this position to being more of an analyst around all things efficiency. So a large portion of it would be energy. Managing the solid waste contract right now is a huge burden on myself and on Pam McNiff. That pulls that out, lets me focus more on energy stuff, lets me focus more on other efficiency projects. But in most towns, our size, running a pay-as-you-throw, they're running anywhere from half a full-time equivalent to a full-time equivalent. In what they typically call a solid waste coordinator. If that person splits duties with other sustainability type functions that are analytically based, like energy tracking, et cetera, it's usually a full-time person.
Okay, thanks. Chris?
Can I?
Oh, Arnie.
I'm sorry, Arnie, do you have a follow-up?
Can I just do a quick follow-up?
Yep.
And I know it's late, and I'll be very brief. Is that $80,000, is that salary, or does that include benefits?
That is salary.
Okay, and one more quick question. Mike, when we spoke, you talked about the extra cart, and is there a in addition to buying the extra card, is there a yearly fee for that? I think that's what we talked about, and maybe that's changed.
Arnie, what we're recommending now, after seeing the public feedback and looking at the data and the costs associated with running that extra cart, is to not do the extra cart and to have a single cart for free and a bag for extra.
Okay, and just one more quick thing. At the next meeting, do you think you could estimate on top of the 80,000 with what it would be with benefits?
Yeah, we have that information this evening. Dan, would you mind?
Dan, what's a benefit cost?
Yeah, and I think when we go through the budget too, I understand if we're funding it in this position, but if that person's going to be splitting across a bunch of things in the beginning, we should make that more clear. Go ahead, Dan.
Sure, so it's quite a range because of health insurance. If you have a family plan, it could impact, the cost by about $28,000. If you have an individual plan, it could be about 15. And 44% of our full-time employees don't elect to take a plan with us. So the average cost through all benefits is typically around $18,000 to $20,000, depending on what plan they choose.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. This was very informative.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
And Arnie, you come by anytime. You know I enjoy talking to you.
Okay, I'm sorry, Chris.
I'm past that. Thank you very much.
Chris had a question?
Good night.
Just two questions. So, first question, are you planning at some point to model out projected revenue and expenses for year 2, 3, 4 of
Yes.
this program? And when are we going to see that?
That you'll see that as part of the budget. Now, because it's not an enterprise fund, you'll see them in 2 different places, but we can pull it together just to show you the overall program impact.
That'd be helpful. Other questions?
Sorry, just a
Yep,
quick
I'm
second
sorry.
question, yeah. The budget transfer, I know we emailed about that. Do we have a fallback if that does not pass town meeting?
I think we're gonna have to talk about what we do if that doesn't pass a town meeting. If anything, it would most likely change the timing of things.
Thank you.
Are you done?
I got just a real quick, promise real quick, so
Okay.
just where we are in terms of what this does performance-wise. We're sitting right now, if we look at our FY25 actual numbers, we're at about 0.72.5 tons per household. If we get this 810 ton reduction, which is very minor compared to what most towns had received when they've gotten a pay-as-you-throw program, we're going to be right at what our goal number is of 0.67, sitting at 0.66 tons per household. So overall, even very conservatively estimating, this does a lot to meet a number of our goals from both a fiscal standpoint as well as a sustainability standpoint. What's coming up next? Basically, we need a decision from the board to implement this timeline. So we'll begin kind of a 2-phase public outreach portion. Up into town meeting, it's going to be why, and after that, it's going to be how and what. And what we'd be looking at is a series of contracts, et cetera, that I'll be negotiating, getting in place to get everything lined up so that we would be looking at a very, very easy implementation around the beginning of July and a very well-informed public at the same time. So the questions that we have for you now is, do we move forward with this? Do I go ahead and spend the time putting together the contracts, negotiating everything out with details and everything that we need to do a contract amendment, get a cart contract going, and do I apply for this grant to fund the carts? So those are the questions we have for the board at this point.
So before we do that, let's see if there's any questions from the public.
I don't know if it's a question, but a comment. Valerie Young, 4 Marion Drive. As a resident, I support like the sustainability and the waste reduction piece of it. As a parent with sort of families as my peers, I worry a little bit about the impact on large households, but I understand that that's the kind of user case. But as someone who was intimately familiar with the override and sees the high class sizes and the reductions in our school services, this to me aligns with the principle that the community has told us what the tax levy we have to work with. And I think of anything, I think this aligns with a basic service. I think you said it on like slide 4, that this 35-gallon cart is the basic service that's in the tax levy, and that anything premium service level above that is some sort of cost sharing model with residents. We do that for busing, we do that for extracurricular activities, we do that for athletic fees. That aligns across the board for me with supporting for this, and it's been a long time coming, so thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Val. Okay, over to this discussion before we,
two
go ahead.
public
Oh, yeah, please.
Vidya Raman asks, how and when will you evaluate the value you would get in 2027? And don't have to answer, but may, I think, excuse me, don't have to answer, but maybe think about it.
So I think you, in the budget process, I think the answer to that is in the budget process, we'll actually see a breakdown of exactly
Yes.
what we're forecasting.
Yes, and if you look at the memo and the materials that went out, there's a much more detailed explanation of all of that. And we'll reconcile kind of what's in the memo with what's in the actual budget, because, again, budget numbers typically need to be more conservative just to hedge.
Yeah, so thank you for the question. Okay, so if we're going to move to decision and next step, I'm sorry, do you have a question?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Elizabeth Sawyer, Holly Lane, member of the Recycling Commission. And I know it's been said in prior meetings, but it just seems to me like it should be said here that that so much of what is going beyond that first bin now has alternatives. I mean, the How to Recycle Most Everything guide from the Recycling Guide is 25, 30 pages long. So the households that currently are throwing out more than that one small bin would be, if this were adopted, able to make a choice. If they feel ain't nobody got time for that, it's going to the curb, that's where the cost comes in. If they're willing to, think differently, an awful lot of that stuff, like an unbelievable amount of that stuff, from alkaline batteries to markers, I mean, things that if you have never paid attention, have an alternate path, don't have to go in that bin. The state would rather nobody pay for it to be thrown out. We are on precarious ground here. We don't tend to talk a lot about the state of the state here, but like all towns, we are looking at how do we have a place to throw our dirty tissues in 10 years, not just how we pay for this. So it is about less trash. Don't pay for it because you don't throw it out.
Thank you. Okay. I guess any discussion before we move to, I guess, are you looking for votes on these?
I'm looking for a vote.
For votes, okay. So there's sort of the general full speed ahead. Do we green light Mike to do what's up here on the slide? That's one vote, and then the other is to apply for the pay-as-you-throw grant. So any comments or questions before we move forward with the recommendation?
What's the deadline for the grant?
It's rolling, but I need to get it. It's more important that I get all the other contracts lined up and just get it rolling.
Okay, so that's why this is time sensitive. Okay.
To fit within the budget, yeah.
Thank you.
Chris?
I just want to see if there's any interest or appetite or even the ability for a way for a family, I'm thinking particularly, young families, 3, 4 kids, they're paying extra fees because the schools, they are generating a lot of trash potentially, being hit with this extra fee. Is that something the board's interested in trying to see if we have a workaround or some sort of solution for?
Do you think it'd be like a hardship grant like we have for some,
Yeah, I don't know what
for
to call it.
seniors or?
Well, we do have things for seniors, but this type of program, in my opinion, is going to hit the younger families more than it will hit anybody else in this community. This is something that we want to think about.
We are already looking at for low-income families, basically looking at a way to distribute bags through our social services departments. So I've already had those conversations with our social worker, with our veterans agent, and have a number of bags kind of built into the program that would be deliverable by those groups. They would be means tested the same way they do current means testing for those programs. As a family of 4 with 3 dogs, 2 cats, and 2 teenagers, we're most times a bag a week in a pay-as-you-throw community. So and I drive a Suburban, so you can adapt to it. It is not a killer.
Okay, thanks. I think that's a great suggestion, and thanks for keeping that top of mind, that we're keeping things affordable for people who are under stress. Okay, I'll entertain a motion then to authorize Mike to continue with the program as described.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then furthermore, I'll entertain a motion to authorize the town manager's office to apply for Mass DEP Pay-As-You-Throw grant and plan for the budget transfer for matching funds.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Next,
We don't
Is that for doing it quickly?
complaints the laptop
For all the
there.
hard work.
No. I think you just
Yeah,
lost
yeah,
control.
yeah. 11:59, I'm gonna have to leave.
Yeah.
Okay, next up is old new business request for the Cultural Council to add a membership seat for the one-year term to expire June 30th, 2026.
And I believe the chair of
See ya.
the Cultural Council is on.
Yes, this is Vidya. I am here.
Hi, welcome, Vidya.
Hi. Good to see you all.
Yeah, if you could just describe what the position request that you have here is.
Absolutely. So what we are planning is to add another member, and it could be a, I would say, young adult, so that we get a voting member who can be bringing in new ideas as a young adult instead of other adults. So we don't have that kind of a person, and we are looking to have one more person who can bring in ideas and new cultural initiatives.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and it's great to have a way to access those kind of voices in town. Any questions for Vidya?
That's great.
Okay, if there's none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the request from the Cultural Council to add a membership seat for a one-year term to expire June 30, 2026.
So moved.
Sounds good.
So I have a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, Vidya.
Thank you.
Next up is a request to approve Westford Cable Access Television MOU extension. Is this an extension to the extension?
It is an extension to the extension. So we are still waiting for Comcast to finish their negotiations with the Communications Advisory Board, and WCAT did not want to sign an MOU, a new MOU with the town until they knew what Comcast was doing. So they are requesting another extension through June 30th of 2026.
Okay. Any questions?
No.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the MOU extension for WestfordCAT.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, board reports and updates.
So we got a brief update from the DEI committee. They were on your calendar for
Yeah.
this evening, so.
Yeah, and who's coming next time?
Clean energy and
I think the Clean Energy Committee is coming on December 9th.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Okay, and somewhere in the rotation, having DEI come back to
Yeah.
suggest that cooperation area would be good.
Yeah,
Thank
Is
you.
the rec commission coming on that same day?
I'll have to double check. I don't have the calendar.
No.
I think we were trying to.
Nobody's asked me, and no, we're not
Okay.
coming.
It's a big meeting with the budget
Not the
presentation.
rec,
Oh.
sorry,
Yeah, that's too many.
the recycle.
Recycling,
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, some of them were here this evening,
Yeah,
but
we-
we can align with them a little bit
Okay.
better.
We got kind of scrambled
Sure.
with my green groups just in the last couple of meetings, so we'll get them squared away on their schedule.
Great. Town manager's report.
All right, so first is to set the select board meeting calendar for 2026. We do not have any holidays that conflict on the second or fourth Tuesday of the month, so we are recommending that you have that schedule in place for 2026.
And I know that you've done this already, but have we done a careful screen for religious holidays?
We did,
Okay.
yes.
We have one on my birthday.
Ooh, we can't wait to bring you cake.
Oh, wow. Put a bullseye on that, baby.
And these, Kristen, these correspond with school vacations too?
Yes,
In
they do.
February,
Yes.
April? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you like a vote to
Yes,
approve it?
please.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed select board meeting calendar for 2026.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Next up.
All right, so next is a request to authorize the select board chair to sign on behalf of the select board to submit the district compliance application for MBTA communities to the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities for compliance with Section 3A of the Zoning Act. Since the town meeting did vote to change the zoning district for the MBTA zoning, we are required to file this document with the state's Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. You filed a similar document when we first adopted the MBTA zoning back in April of 2024.
Any questions? I'll entertain a motion to authorize.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. The next, you have had discussions in the executive session. This is final to request to approve the accelerated payment structure for the final installment of the 3M PFAS multi-district litigation settlement in the amount of approximately $530,751.67.
Okay, so we're basically agreeing to the settlement.
You're agreeing
terms.
to the settlement terms and accepting that approximate dollar amount. And then there will be further discussion between the water commissioners and the select board of how those funds will be spent in the future.
Any questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
The next is to accept the grant, Mass DEP for the Sustainable Materials Recovery Program grant in the amount of $6,370 as requested by the town manager's office. And I want to thank Christina Green as a volunteer and also members of the recycling committee for putting together the materials for that grant application.
Any questions? No. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
No move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any questions about correspondence? If not, I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading of correspondence.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
No move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank-